your money, your taxes, your truck, and your road to success in the trucking industry. This is Trucking Business and Beyond, the show that puts the money where it belongs, back in your pocket.
Good morning, you beautiful bunch of Fockers, and welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It is Tuesday, July 2nd. We are here live. It's time for the Power Hour. I see we've got Bruce here already this morning, so I'm just going to bring him in and we're going to get started. Bruce, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin.
We ready to fix a bunch of trucks today?
Ready to talk about guys that do heavy haul and go from high horsepower, older engines like C16 and C15 cats and K series, and they buy a new truck, and no matter how you tune it, they're disappointed. And the new trucks aren't going to come and roar to life like the old ones did. They'll pull, but they're not going to pull like if you have a 1,000 horsepower Caterpillar, and that's the one I'm referring to.
There's a difference, yeah. No matter how you tune them, it doesn't feel like 1,000 horsepower.
Right. Turbos are small. They're made to come on soon, and they're geared more towards the horsepower of the engine that you purchased. Fella, I was talking to him yesterday. He bought a new Pete with a 500 economy, and he does heavy haul. And JR has tuned it 3 times. We've had it on the dyno, and we've given it as much as it'll take. And he's used to a C16 that he rebuilt, and he said he put an ACERT crank in it to give it a longer stroke. I didn't know the ACERT crank was a longer stroke than a C16 crank, but I said, are you at 800 horsepower? He said, no, I was at about 1,000. Well, you can't go from 1,000 to an economy 500, even though we make it a 600,
Right.
And you're going to haul heavy, and you're going to roll into the throttle and feel the difference.
Right.
I mean, it's not there. And if you're in that situation, this particular fellow's 55 years old, it had been, I said, why did you get rid of the 379 with the 1,000 horsepower cat? My boss wanted me to start running California.
You're kidding. Oh.
I would either gone in California in the dark and came out in the dark, or not even worried about it and took my chances. But
or just tell them I'm not going to California. Man, that's a big decision to replace a truck like that. I mean, that's not your run-of-the-mill truck. That's a pretty special truck, and no matter what you do, 1,000 horsepower is 1,000 horsepower, and
that's right.
There is a very different feel to a large engine like that, and that kind of horsepower. The thing is, you're going to get up the hill about the same amount of time. I mean, the difference in time is just not that big of a deal. But once you've got a truck like that, I'm kind of surprised he got rid of it.
Well, Al Hemerson, we had his 14 non-EGR 14-liter Detroit in his Cascadia. He was at about 740 horsepower, and then he bought the new Volvo, and he does well with the Volvo.
Yeah,
but he understands.
Well,
and every now and then we'll be talking. He says, I sure do miss that 14-liter.
Yeah, I can see that, and you're certainly going to have that in this case. But I hope he realized that he was not. This truck, obviously, the new one will be more efficient. There's a lot of advantages. There's no doubt. I'm surprised he gave up a truck like that. But if he did, I hope he realized that he was not going to get that kind of feel.
Right. That's right. So the moral of the story is, if you're going to do specialty work and you want to feel hard acceleration and response. You got to build your truck. You just have to build. For what it's costing today to buy these new trucks, I'm hearing some horrendous prices up
Oh,
over 200,000.
yeah.
You can build one. You just need the time and the place and a little bit of knowledge. The other thing is we're finally getting caught up on building Cummins pumps and injectors for big chems in the pump room. We were out about 6 or 7 weeks before we could take one in, and Pat is finally caught up. Or the economy has slowed down maybe, but now we're about a week behind in the pump room for people with big chems. And we get a lot of big chem calls every day, and Pete Sharp used to take most of them, and now it's Brian and I. And some of the combinations of parts that people call us and have on these engines, I wonder, I said, why didn't you call me before you got into this project?
Right.
And it's usually, well, we didn't know about you. So
Yeah. Well, we're trying to get the word out.
yeah,
You know,
we
Bruce,
have been for how many years now?
yeah, I know.
16.
Yeah. The
16, and plus we started writing articles in 1987.
right. In lots of magazines. Although, remember how many used to be around that just are just gone? At that one time, I think I was writing for 7 different magazines every month. Now, I wrote the same article usually, but it went out in 7 different magazines every month.
I had to write 2, but we were in a total of 8, and then as they fell off and they went on to what do you call it whenever you're just on a computer and you're no longer in paper?
Digital.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of strange that a lot of things changed. Like most of those magazines I had, and I know you did too, your own column. I mean, it was a monthly column,
Right.
and it was in the same spot in the magazine. And
Mm-hmm.
when they went digital, I don't know. It seems like a lot of that stuff kind of changed, and it's really different because I wrote for those magazines. I would at least flip through them every month, and you'd see things. And now with it being online, I don't go to any of those sites anymore. I mean, some of the magazines are still around. They're online. They're digital now, but I don't go flip through a magazine online. Some
I
of them,
still like to pick up a magazine and read it.
yeah,
I
if
like
it
to have a paper in my hand.
for that, I'm the exact same way. Now, people think that because of all the reading I do, that I must really love books, and I really, I have no affinity for the book itself. To me, it's just the knowledge. So I read on a Kindle almost exclusively now. If the only time I don't, I have 2 books right now that I have to read the physical book because a Kindle version doesn't exist. But I prefer my Kindle way more than a book, by far.
Mm-hmm.
So much more convenient.
And
Bruce, I want to go back before we go on
yeah,
because you mentioned the economy might be slowing down, and it really feels like it took longer to get to us. And even our tribe, a lot of our tribe was saying, we're still doing fine. Rates have been down for quite a while now. Volumes are down. It feels like it's really starting to reach deeper and deeper, and more people are being affected. And I still have no idea what to think with the overall economy. The interesting thing in trucking right now, all the signs point to a good summer, probably better than last year as far as rates and volumes. So that's a weird kind of change right now, and I'm not sure
mhm.
why. Typically, at this point, we would still either be going down. I wasn't expecting that we would see any kind of a bounce or positive numbers, but the summer's starting to look like it might not be that bad. And if it's a really active hurricane season, much as I hate to say it, it's really good for trucking. Hurricanes generate a lot of freight.
Yeah, they might generate freight, but boy, they
Oh,
play havoc for a
they're
lot of
they're
people.
brutal. There's no doubt about it. I lived in Florida the year Orlando got hit 4 times in one summer. And the crazy thing about that, prior to that year, Orlando had not been hit with a hurricane in my lifetime. And we got 3
Yeah,
in one
so
summer. The
far.
last one was only a
So far
tropical
inland
storm.
that I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that year there was
You
a
know, and
really weird weather pattern, and we just kept getting hit.
when I bought my condo down there, I bought it a year too soon.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Even though my unit didn't get affected by Hurricane Ian, the yen units did. The insurances skyrocketed. Oh, it's terrible.
Well, even if
All right. Also,
yeah, go ahead. We'll move on.
I'm dealing with 3 farmers right now on large farms that have big cams in their farm tractors, and that's always a neat experience to work with them and the different things that they go through, especially whenever they have clay in the field. And if we go too much on the power, we just spin the tires out whenever they're plowing. So.
All right. Well, I see
That's all I have.
We've got we have Bill with a special open today.
Yeah, he's going to talk about the Houston Truck Show that was last weekend.
All right. So we're going to bring those guys in now. The dynamic duo is now the I don't know if I should call them the 3 Musketeers or the 3 Stooges this morning. Let's see which one they live up to.
Nah, Musketeers.
Yeah, I was thinking 3 Stooges. Morning, Kevin.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, Bill.
Morning. How are you?
Good. Good to hear from you.
Yeah. It's good. Well, it's good to be on. I'm borrowing Leroy's headphones here, so hopefully he doesn't have any kind of odd ear diseases that I'm going to catch from him or anything.
Yeah.
Don't wake him up.
Hey, I hate to say this, but when I heard the Texas truck show again, I thought, oh, you got to be kidding me. I was so happy we weren't having truck shows in Texas anymore.
Kevin, let me tell you something. It was hot down there.
It was what?
It was hot down there.
I know.
Every morning I from about 7 o'clock in the morning. It was 82 degrees at 7 a.m. and just hit you like a pound of bricks walking out of the hotel.
Here's one of my memories, and it's burned into my brain because of how miserable it was. I made the goofy mistake of showing up to the Dallas Truck Show one year, 30 miles from Dallas. I stopped and filled up, and I had dual 150-gallon fuel tanks on that glider. That was the one we would put in the show. I was driving it around, so we had to stop and get it all cleaned up, get it ready for the show, put it in the show. I stopped and filled up fuel because I had another event right after, and I'm like, I don't want to have to mess with fuel. I just want to get out of here and go. They will not let the truck in the building full of fuel. Like, you have to have your fuel tanks almost empty before they'll let you in the building. So, and now I don't have a whole lot of time. So I'm out there in the parking lot giving fuel away. Anybody that can come over here, we can siphon into your tanks, come on over. But it was like 111 degrees. It was absolutely miserable out there doing that.
I'm sure you're pretty popular, though.
Yeah, I was giving it away. Just come and take it. Yeah.
How do you siphon when you're level to level?
It wasn't easy.
How did you get
I know I think at one point somebody brought us a pump. I mean, it was a whole fiasco trying to get it done. I just remember it was miserable.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had a hand pump at one point. Sometimes if the other tank was low enough, since mine were full, you could get a little out, and then it wasn't fun. So I'm hoping that your experience was better.
Well, yeah. First of all, I did not drive a truck down there. I flew a plane down there. So that was a little different. Well, I didn't fly.
Yeah.
I flew commercial pilot. Maybe some. But yeah, so the Texas Trucking Show is put on by the same company that puts on the California Trucking Show and the Florida Trucking Show. I don't know if you've been to either of those, Kevin. We were at California last year.
I haven't been to either one of those.
Yeah, okay. So it's quite a bit different than Matt's in Louisville. Louisville pulls in a nationwide crowd.
Right.
Where these are much localized. It was a very distinct, mainly Texas people. There were some people there from Louisiana and Mississippi who came over for the show as well. A lot of local crowds, more family oriented, I would say,
Right.
as well, since the show was Saturday and Sunday.
Well, and it's local.
Yeah.
If somebody's leaving, Oregon to go to Louisville for a truck show, they're probably not taking their whole family. But those local shows, you do see that a lot more. You know what that reminds me of, Bruce? Did you ever go to the New England truck show?
Yes, I worked the New England Truck Show probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I did too. It used to go back and forth from Boston to Baltimore. Yeah, every other year. One year it would be in Baltimore, the next year would be in Boston.
Baltimore was only 1 year.
Was it?
And the problem happened in Baltimore, and they shared the same parking lot as the baseball stadium. And there was a baseball game that weekend. So
I think I remember
it killed
that.
the Baltimore show.
Yeah.
There was only one way, and there was a guy there that had a freezer, and he had it filled with ice cream bars. And when there was nobody to talk to, we ate ice cream bars.
And there were times where there was nobody to talk to, especially Friday during the day. And then late in the day, people actually got off work. You could tell they were getting off work and coming to the show on Friday, and then Saturday was better. And it was an interesting show.
The Baltimore and D.C. area has a tremendous amount of triaxle dump trucks.
Yeah.
And they agreed to haul so many loads of aggregate per day. So they can't just shut the truck down to come to a show.
Right.
So that was the problem there. The
So-
Bayside Expo in Boston was okay, and it was non-union, and there was a lot of doors to move in and out of. And
Yeah, it was an easy show. It was small, it was local, but it wasn't a hassle like a lot of shows. Where it was actually enjoyable. I met some really good people at that show. The thing about small shows, Bill, this may have happened with you this time. You don't have nearly as many people, but you have better conversations because you have more time. You don't feel rushed. You don't have a line of people waiting to ask you a question. I feel like sometimes when I go to truck shows, Louisville, I feel like I might as well be doing the radio show. I stand there and there's a line of people and they just ask me questions and I answer. Yeah, and at some point the line gets so big, people start getting annoyed. And Bruce, your booth always looks like that. I mean, it's always slammed and people are waiting for somebody to talk to. So you got to kind of rush through. And on these smaller shows, Bill, was this one like that? You just get more time to talk to people.
Yeah, 100%. In Louisville, it's almost like a machine gun.
Yeah.
Where it's just one after another. Someone's behind the person you're talking to, and you feel bad because you're not getting around to the people. But here it was, and also we have our huge booth and a huge presence in Louisville. Where when we do a smaller show like this, we're smaller booth. And it really was just Jane and I. We had our partners from DPF Alternatives down there on Saturday with us too.
Oh, good.
They were fantastic, and we were able to really spend time with people, and also get out and walk the show a little bit as well. Yeah, and what was nice is when you do these local shows, it also allows us to go and see some of our customers there. Like Bill Hillhouse Jr. came by. He's from Mississippi. Jason from Shisha Trucking stopped by to see us, a couple other people too. And I know they always appreciate when we're in town. Same thing happened in California, that our California customers, came and said, "Hey, finally you guys decided to do the show. We're glad to see you here." So it was good to meet them, put faces to them. I think they enjoy meeting us and talking with Jane about the Catalyst and discussing, everything that we have to offer.
Yeah, good.
But I'll tell you one huge difference, and this probably won't come as a big surprise, between the California and the Texas Trucking Show, is the number of people in Texas that have their trucks deleted. It was eye-opening to us.
Wow.
And we talked with some people down there, and apparently, there's one EPA center down there for the entire state of Texas. And Texas is a three big states.
Yeah, it is.
So, and we did hear through the grapevine from some people down there that they're going to start increasing the enforcement down there. But Jane and I spent a lot of time talking to people about how using the max mileage is a way to stay legal and beat the issues that they're having with their emission system.
We've talked about this and talked about it. There was a short period of time, maybe 2 years. Bruce, you might remember. I'm thinking it was about 2 years that we actually talked about it, and we were frustrated. It was really early on. I'm thinking like '07, around there, maybe. We were just frustrated. Nobody had any solutions. I knew owner operators that were going to go out of business because of a new truck, but it was maybe 2 years. And then after that, we started to find some solutions and started to work out of that. And ever since then, we've been saying, don't do it. Just don't do it. There's so many downsides and almost no upsides. And there's ways
Right.
you don't need to deal with all those problems anymore. And the catalyst's a big part of that.
Right. And I feel like it's somewhat normalized in Texas to do it, but
Wow.
I think those winds are going to shift, and I don't know if the enforcement's going to come via the shops that are doing it, or like in California where they have roadside stops, but they are going to be increasing the enforcements there, so that's something to keep an eye on.
Let's think about this. We are a solid 20 years into emissions now. 20 years. We've kind of got this figured. And look, I can go back. If I can't count how many times I made this statement. I know, Bruce, you agreed. I said over and over, look, we went through this with cars in the 70s. They were total garbage. Everybody hated their cars. And we got through it. And now you can own a car for 4 or 5 years, never even open the hood anymore. I mean, the cars have come that far. And we're saying the trucks will get there. It's going to take time. They'll get there. It was a lot to deal with, but we're kind of there now. You can now spec trucks and operate trucks and really not have any emission issues if you do it right.
Right. Yeah. And getting to that point. I mean, it took a while, but we definitely are there now.
Yeah, we've been through a lot. I mean, in the beginning, it was, I remember the process that you guys developed there, Bruce. It was really just a matter of going through the engine and cleaning everything. We weren't stopping the soot. We were just cleaning it before it caused too many problems. And from there, you could go through the whole progression of the Dorothy and all the things we've been through to make this work. And now it's working. And there hasn't been a reason to delete these trucks for a long time. I'm shocked to hear that there's that big of a pattern that you noticed it.
Yeah, it was huge. And actually, I was initially led on to this. So, like I said, our partners, DPF Alternatives, came in. They were at the booth with us all day Saturday. The great people, Keith and Jenna Lindman down there. Anyone who's in the Houston area and needs a DPF clean, definitely reach out to them. They told us about that in the beginning. And they had actually worked the show the previous years and decided not to do it this year. So we were clued into it, but then as we started talking with people, my discussion, I typically lead off with what kind of truck do you drive, what engine do you have in there, and then I had to add the question, is your emission system intact?
Right.
What kind of discussion we were going to have.
Oh, man. It's a shame that we have to ask these kinds of questions now. It's kind of like a lot of times I have to ask a question I hate to when I'm dealing with somebody in their health. Did you get the vaccine? Did you delete your engine? I mean, we have to ask those things. And you hope in both cases the answer is no.
Right. But Texas has always been kind of that rebel state that people are very proud. I mean, pride is huge, and they do their own thing, and this is the way they've gone, so it was eye opening because in California, obviously, it's just, I mean, everyone's is follow. They have to follow the rules pretty much. The enforcement is very tough there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, overall, it was a good show. It was at the NRG Center. We weren't in danger of having any baseball games go on when we were there, Bruce. But there was the Copa America soccer match that was happening a couple of days after the show. So there were a lot of people down there for that. It was good getting out and seeing some of our customers, talking with some of our vendors who were also present there. And walking the show. It was a small show. I mean, it makes Matt's look huge. The show, I would say, the entire show was a little smaller than the West Wing at Matt's, where we are.
When the Dallas Truck Show year after year kept getting smaller and smaller, and by the end, I think that's about the size it was down to.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Well, that's
Bruce,
probably why they shut it down.
Wouldn't you say that the last couple of years of Dallas, that room just kept getting smaller and smaller?
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
And there were some problems there, and one year they gave us all $35 parking tickets. It took over 30 minutes to unload our booth.
I remember.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I actually called the chief of police and only got a recording, and they were only a couple blocks away, and I said, you better get down here because there's some problems and some of your officers could get hurt, and they never showed up.
Yeah, well,
so that was a problem. The union was a problem.
Yeah, it was. The weather was a problem. I will say this. The one thing I absolutely love about the Dallas Truck Show and Dallas itself as a place to go, it's almost hard to find bad food. Like, there is so much good food in Dallas. You just trip over it everywhere. Every kind of food you can think of. I don't think Dallas gets enough credit for being a really good food city.
Yeah, that's good food.
We had some good meals in Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had amazing Mexican food down there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And where we were staying was right near the medical complexes and Rice University.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a nice area. It was actually my first time in Houston, and Jane and I were there a little early, and we were visiting some different plants down there, and the refineries south of the city. It's just incredible.
Yeah, it is.
When you look out distance, it looks like a huge metropolis.
Right.
There's just refinery after refinery after refinery.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also known as a tornado target.
Okay.
They seem to hit there a lot. And we've got, what's going on with that storm? I forgot to check on that this morning. We were talking about that. Bruce, I was just talking earlier about the summer might be better, and hurricanes are a big part of it. This one was interesting. Craig Fuller over at FreightWaves was tracking the storm, and he was making some predictions. If it went too far south and hit Mexico, it was really going to hurt freight in the U.S. because Mexico's now our biggest trading partner. We've got a lot of freight coming across that border, and Mexico does not handle these hurricanes and storms well. It takes them a lot longer to recover from them. He predicted if it hit Mexico, we could see less freight for maybe even up to a month till they got everything back in shape. But if it hit north of the border in Texas, then we get all the FEMA loads and all the cleanup and all the supplies. And so it was kind of like, which way is it going to go? And it's going to affect how much freight we have.
Yeah, right now it's projected to go into Mexico. It's supposed to hit Jamaica tomorrow, and it's a Category 5, 160 plus mile per hour winds.
Wow. Yeah, they're.
Was this the earliest it developed and it's had a Category 5?
I think so. Yeah.
East, yeah.
The earliest one. If it wasn't, it was like the last one, like the last 100 years or something, like a long time.
So let me clarify something. They're going to blame this on global warming or climate change or whatever the hell they call it now. That's not necessarily true, but it is weather related. It looks like there's a very strong possibility that these storms and floods and everything we're having are being caused by the poles shifting and all the solar weather we're being affected by. Did you know, Bill? I'd like talking to you. You like topics like this. Did you know that our poles are moving?
I did. I'm not sure where I heard that, but I did. And so now if you use a compass, it's not true north, or it's not
Correct.
aligned north
Yep.
with where you want to go. Yeah.
Yeah. The animals, there's animals lost all over the world that migrate with those poles. We had giant sunfish washing up on shores in Oregon that don't even belong in the northern hemisphere. They're that far
Really?
off track.
What's
Yeah.
the cause of that? What's the cause? Is it just
So it's happened in the
normal?
past. It happened about 6,000 years ago. The poles can completely shift. They can flip north to south. And when that happens, when it's happened historically, it usually coincides with like an ice age or some massive change in the earth. I think 6,000 years ago might have been the last one. It's happening now. They're not really sure why it happens. One of the things they're saying now is it could be happening because we pump so much oil out of the ground and we've been doing it for so long that we change water tables and all kinds of things. But why 6,000 years ago? I mean, if that's what they're trying to blame it on, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's not dangerous to humans at all, other than all of our electronics and our grid is susceptible to this.
Right. It's going to mess up your GPS.
Yeah. And when we hear things about the earth, like they say, oh my God, the coastline shifted an inch last year and we're all going to die because Florida's going to disappear underwater. It moved an inch. The pole has been moving on average, I think, like 27 miles a year since 2020.
That much?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's big. It's really big. And that's why it's having such an impact. The whole Aurora Borealis thing that just happened a month or so ago, if even that long, where they were seeing the Aurora Borealis in Puerto Rico. That's because we're losing the protection against that.
Wow.
That's what the poles do. By being at the very top and bottom, they form a protective shield from those energy waves from the sun, and now they're moving and we're losing that protection.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of serious stuff.
Yeah. So, but that's all I got. And I know your listeners are much more eager to talk about trucks and
They're used to it. I talk about whatever pops into my mind at the moment. So, and especially when I get you on, because I don't get to talk to you a lot.
No, we don't. Yeah.
I miss hanging out in your office and going to dinner. When I used to,
I know.
when I was a garage rat and I used to live in the garage.
Yeah, that was fun. When are you
It
coming
was.
back?
I should do it again. Except this time, I really don't want to spend that much time turning wrenches. Although I had a lot of quality time with Leroy, because he was always out there helping me turn wrenches. Thank you, Leroy.
Yeah. Yeah. He can't hear you right now.
Oh, he's sleeping.
He's saying you're welcome subliminally.
All right, good. Tell him I'm talking about him and don't tell him what I said.
Yeah. We
I
won't
definitely
let
will.
him know what you said.
Then he'll wonder.
I'll take that and run all
There
the
you
time.
go. Yeah. All right, Bill, we'll let you get on with your day. We know you're busy. Thanks for the update.
Kevin.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take care. All right. Eric, you're there. What's on your mind today?
Oh, a couple things. Wanted to go over the stuff in the shop. We have a 2023 Freightliner with a DD15. It's a new to this person purchase. So we're going to do an OPS, fast installation, the diesel force cleaning, ECM tune, and a fleet air. This gentleman has two other trucks and have a good foundation for to get good fuel mileage. We have a 95 Kenworth in here, T600 with an N14. We're doing some just basic diagnostics on there. We have a 2012 Kenworth T660 in here. We are doing some more diagnostics on a depth doser nozzle on that one.
Was that a 95 N14? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Was that electronic?
Yes, it was.
That
it
is
was the first generation electronics.
That's what I thought.
They made the select engines up until Was that 99, Leroy? 98? When
Oh,
did
now you want to talk to me?
Why would you ask Leroy that? Was he even born yet?
Probably not.
I don't
What?
think he was.
98.
I was born in 2010. I am 14 years old. No, it wasn't the first. They had the one before that, the Peak or whatever.
N14.
Yeah, before the
That's right.
Select, they had the very basic one that was just like a little electronic fuel pump.
It was about the same technology as like a Casio calculator watch.
Yeah, there you go.
Then we have a 21 Mac Anthem. We are doing a diesel force on, and we cleaned the filters out. We have a 2003 Kenworth T600. We got a bunch of T6s here. We have another T600 here too, but the 03 was here for a dampener and an ECM tune. And the 06 Kenworth T600 was here for a bunch of stuff, but a dampener also. And that's one thing that I know Bruce has talked about many, many times with you on the air, and we've written articles about them. I think it's something that just kind of gets forgotten about or overlooked. And it's something that's very, very crucial and important to the lifespan of the engine and just the overall health of the engine, because this is your shock absorber. This is what takes the violent explosion and the energy off of the crankshaft. Just walking by these trucks, you can see that they've been on there for years and years. Very rusted, crusty looking.
Let me address that. You said, maybe we forgot about them or they're overlooked. Or I'll tell you my experience coming into the industry back in the 80s and until I met Bruce. I honestly didn't know and I'm fairly mechanical. I did a lot of work on the truck myself and have been mechanical. I didn't even know what a crankshaft damper was. I mean, I knew that there was that big disc spinning up there. I just thought it was part of the belts and the pulley system, and I had no idea why it was there or what it did. And I certainly wasn't about to change it if I didn't even know what it was. So it wasn't a matter of overlooking it or thinking it wasn't important enough. I didn't even realize it was there and it had a purpose.
Yeah, I've talked to other service managers that have said to me, why would you change that?
I know.
They never go bad.
That's the common answer from people who should know, right? The shop people, and that's the common answer. Oh, we never change those. Why would you? And then when you explain to them the way Bruce explained to me and told me, when you see one cut in half, here's what's happening, and it made total sense. And you try to explain that to a service manager who's been around a long time, and I think they're embarrassed that they don't know and just want to argue with you about it sometimes.
Yes, that's exactly right. You hit it right on the head there. They get automatically on defense mode.
Right.
But it's part of growing. You have to learn. If you don't learn something every day,
absolutely,
it's not a good day.
Yeah.
You definitely have. And then we have a couple other trucks here, like a 19 International. We're doing a diesel force on. 22 Peterbilt. We're doing a diesel force on. Just a bunch of different stuff going on in here.
Sounds like it.
One topic I did want to bring up was the Chevron Act.
I talked about it. And I'm really interested in this. And on Friday, and I hate that he's doing this on Friday because I'm taking a long weekend, but there's an attorney I follow on X, and he practices in the transportation world, and he's really sharp. And he's doing a thing on Friday to go over this and try to explain it in, English and how it's going to affect trucking. But it could have huge impacts on trucking.
Yes. From what I've been able to gather, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it's basically taking the overreach of the federal level of government on a lot of their own entities and handing it down to the state level, so that the state can overrule federal overreach.
Well, see, I don't know. This is going to get very confusing because I understand it a little differently. One of the issues we have in trucking is states' rights, and I'm a huge fan and believer of states' rights. The way the founders set this up was the correct way, and I wish we would have followed it better. The federal government should have very, very limited powers. And that disappeared a long time ago, and it gets worse every year. This may be a fix to a lot of it, not everything, because our government's so big. Now it's just out of control. But it's not quite the same in trucking because there's also the Commerce Clause that overrides most of this and says you can't interfere with interstate commerce. And this is why CARB should have never been allowed. CARB is completely unconstitutional because one state can affect, a state in California could affect a trucking company in Maine. That should never be allowed. And that's what happens when you allow a state to put in rules that do interfere with interstate commerce. So this really starts to get confusing because you have the states' right issues, you have the Commerce Clause we have to deal with, if I've even got all these terms right. I think I do. What this is mostly about, and I've been saying for years that it is wrong that these alphabet agencies, the EPA, the FDA, the FMCSA, the DOT, the DOL, it goes on and on and on and on, they now control our lives. We are bound by so many of their regulations, and we didn't get to vote for them. This is no longer a representative government. We might put people in office, but they're not deciding this stuff. These unelected bureaucrats in these alphabet agencies are controlling most of our everyday life through regulations. And they're controlling entire industries through regulations. It is not to say all of the regulations are bad, but that was not how this was supposed to work. So now the final decision on these rules comes back to the courts. So the court can now step in and say, no, the EPA claims to be the experts on these issues, but that is not constitutional. So now it's not going to be decided on whether or not some agency thinks it's the right thing to do. It's going to be decided on whether or not this is even constitutional. And that's why it goes back to the court. That's my best understanding of what I've been able to read so far. A couple of days ago, I had no idea what the Chevron doctrine was. Until this case came out, I had never even heard of it before, even though I had been talking about this for years, about these agencies and how much control they exert over us, and there's nothing we can do about it. We can't even vote to change it. So I really want to see this on Friday, and there are lots of attorneys doing this, so I'm just going to keep reading about it. But this could be a really big deal.
I hope it is a shift in the right direction.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It certainly seems like it is. I mean, on the surface, it really is. We'll see what happens in the real world.
Yep. And that's all I really have.
All right. Leroy. Hey.
Is it bad? I have no idea what you're talking about.
How do you get to work every day if you're only 14?
Eric drives me.
Got it. All right. What's on your mind today?
Had a potential interesting fix on a blower motor in a truck. So there's a truck here that the AC or heat, anytime that the blower motor is on, it shuts off every, I don't know, several minutes, right? And then it comes back on. And the first thing that JR and I thought of was the only thing that does that is when the circuit breaker clicks and then it cools down and it goes back off again. So to make a long story short, we ended up seeing what the current draw was on the blower motor by taking the circuit breaker out and putting the ammeter in line. And the ammeter is just a multimeter that you turn to amps mode. And we saw on the truck it was drawing somewhere around 23 or something, 23 amps or something like that on a 30 amp breaker. And that's not enough to instantly trip the breaker, but as the breaker heats up, because 23 amps are going through it, it's going to trip before it hits 30 amps, sort of like a false trip. And what we kind of maybe sort of found, I mean, we tore it apart and found that it was, when somebody replaced it, they didn't put it back together quite correctly. It wasn't exactly aligned. and the blower motor, like the plastic piece, was catching the side of the case and causing it to drag. So when we realigned it, put it back in, it's only drawing 6 amps now in the truck versus 23.
Wow.
So not sure if that was just some measurement errors or something in the truck was a little bit different, or if it gets bounced around. So we're not doing more testing, but yeah, it was just it's like nothing wrong with the wiring or the circuitry or whatever. I just think the last person that put the blower motor in didn't exactly put it in straight. So kind of an interesting fix.
Yeah, it is.
Fix, because we haven't declared it as good yet, but
we'll see. What else you got?
Well, yeah, that was kind of my story of the week. So that's it.
All right. I guess it's time to get to some phone calls. Let's get started today in Texas. Paul, welcome to the program.
Howdy, it's nice down here. It's only 90 this morning, so we're good.
Yeah, there you go.
Might warm up a little bit, though. Yeah, you got to be tough to truck in Texas.
That's right.
Especially those of us that have to get out and work in it. Yeah. So I heard you yesterday on Nemo's show. You talk about rear axle ratios.
Mm-hmm.
If you get a new Peterbilt, with a 253 rear end ratio, but you really wanted the 228, will the 228 pumpkin fit in the 253 housing?
I think so.
Okay, that'll work.
It has to. It has to fit in there. Because on a standard housing that has 355s, 336s, 325s, 308s, 264 is the highest we can go. So if you buy a truck with 253s and then put the 228s in, that should work.
Okay. Because I ran that calculator and that with my little short rubber, that I'm pretty sure that 228's right on the money for the speed I want to run.
I think you're correct.
I'll be around 61.5 in direct, and if I stuck it in overdrive when I'm empty, I'd be at like 71. But on a lot of my empty running, I'm on fairly flat ground. Like my elevation change today might be 50 feet where I start and where I finish. So I'm not getting much above sea level today.
There you go.
So
you got a lot of oxygen today.
Yeah, hot oxygen too. Hot and humid. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
We can handle it.
Yeah, all right. So let's talk about that. Humidity displaces oxygen, and so does heat. So really, you don't have a lot of oxygen today being near sea level because the oxygen molecules are being forced out.
Oh, this is turning into a science lesson.
Well, we already had some lessons in space weather, so
just think of a cubic foot, and if it was in a glass container, and you heated it, and you put steam in it for humidity, something has to move out, something has to leave, and it's the oxygen molecule that.
Okay, because it's probably the lightest. Yeah.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah, it's like a bottle. It's like a bottle of max mileage catalyst. We, instead of diluting it by putting everything else in it, we stayed strictly with the catalyst so that we could. 1 gallon treats 3,200 gallon, but oxygen is similar. There's only so many molecules of oxygen in a cubic foot, and altitude displaces it, heat displaces it, humidity displaces it. So when you're in really hot climate like that, you just kind of got to back out of the throttle a little bit and give the engine a break. I always said if it's too hot for your body to work outside and or too cold for your body to work outside, it's also too cold for your engine.
Hey, Bruce, you know what you just made me think of when You talked about, not diluting the max mileage catalyst, keeping it really concentrated. One of the, when you look back at this and why we've been so inefficient, still are in a lot of ways, laundry detergent. It's almost all water in this giant jug, this giant plastic jug. We ship these things all over the place. We use a lot of this. It's used over and over and over. And now we are, I don't know if we brought it into the store yet or not, but we're looking at it. They make now, it looks like a dryer sheet, but you actually throw it in the laundry and it's the detergent.
I have seen that.
Think about how much more efficient that is. Think about all those giant jugs we've been shipping all over the country over and over and over and over, and they're mostly full of water. There's already water in your washing machine. How inefficient was that? Why couldn't we come up with, even if you couldn't come up with the sheet, maybe that's new technology or something, I don't know, but you certainly could have taken all of the water out of that product. And that's what they did with the pods.
Right.
The pods took all the water out. Why were we so inefficient at that for so many years?
It's interesting. All that plastic that they wanted to save and get out of the oceans, and the
Yeah.
plastic that's actually in our bodies. And what is the size of the plastic they say that's in our water that can't be filtered out? How small is that?
It's got to be less than a micron, much less than a micron, because we can
Yeah.
easily filter down to a micron. That's not hard. I mean, we almost do it with
Right.
oil. We're down to 2 or 3 microns on the OPS, and that's oil and water. You would think we could filter way down. So these microplastics have to be really, really tiny.
So that's why the catalyst can treat 3,000. 1 gallon can treat 3,200 because there's no waste in it.
Right. That makes sense. All right, it is turning into a science
What-
show.
One other thing, one other comment. Bill was talking about the deleted trucks in Texas.
Yeah.
There's lots of them. Without even thinking really hard, I can think of 4 guys in the auto transport industry that run predominantly Texas, or they're based in Texas, and all 4 of them are deleted.
Wow, I had no idea that was still a thing.
And 2 of them have been deleted within the last 5 years, I'd say.
Wow. Unnecessary.
It's common. You see them and hear them. I do a lot of miles in Texas. You see the truck coming up beside you, and it's like, oh, it's a 389 Peterbilt, and you hear it go past, and it's like, well, that should be an emission motor, but that's way too loud to be an emission engine, or too much smoke, or a black exhaust pipe. So,
Right.
At Pittsburgh Power, we
So-
know that performance.
right, I'll carry on.
All right.
Longevity.
All right. Who's why am I hearing a Pittsburgh Power commercial in the background?
I think Bruce put his phone on hold.
All right, I'm going to put Bruce back in the queue. You know what used to really get me? I don't know, do you guys still play my show on the phone system?
I guess not.
Obviously
Based off of what
not.
it sounds like.
Obviously not. For a long time, every time I would call Pittsburgh Power, it was shocking because as soon as I would go on hold, I'd hear my own voice. I'd be like, what the hell is that? But the show used to play on the phone system. Or the old shows
for
or
lots.
yeah. So, all right, we will let me figure out how. Angie, if you could check in with Bruce once in a while so we know when he's back and I can bring him back in. Let's go to Mississippi. David, welcome to the program.
All right, thanks for taking my call. Did you get my oil sample?
I did. Let me open it up and take a look here. This looks like this should be an easy one. Let's see.
Coolant?
No.
Yes.
Maybe.
No?
It's really,
A little
really early to try to tell. They're both climbing. They're both still really low, though. when I see numbers like this, the odds of you ever even needing to add coolant are pretty slim. Have you had to add any coolant?
Yeah. No, I haven't.
Okay.
I just had my back in April. I had my cups changed because I was losing coolant, and I had my cups changed. It's a D13. So they changed the oil at that time.
What year was
So
that?
This year, I mean, the oil changed and the
No, I mean,
cups?
what year's the engine?
Oh, 2012.
Okay. Those years back then, the injector cups were a problem. I think, if I remember right, were they brass originally and the upgrade was stainless steel because they had some problems with them?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I haven't heard
And
that one in a long
he
time.
says what they say is it's the thing that rides on top of the injector that makes it go up and down. It wears the injector out.
Okay.
For
Yeah, I
whatever reason.
remember they had that fixed back then. So if that happened in April and you took the sample in June, there's a possibility this is just holdover. This is just we
I would
don't
think
always get all of the oil out of the engine when we change. Some engines are way worse than the other. I think the ISX holds a bunch up in the top end. And we see some of this carryover. So that could be what this is.
Okay.
How many miles were
you think? Pardon me.
how many miles were on this engine?
1.26.
Was it ever been in-framed?
No. Well, it's had a new top end, a new bottom end, but I've never done the cylinder kits.
Hey,
Okay.
Eric,
Yes,
I've
sir.
never seen this comment before. Potassium in new engines may be from protective coatings from bearings or head and or solder flux from oil cooler. I don't think I've ever seen that.
No, but I'll bet that's where they're doing this with the Volvo engines and the Detroit engines, because now they tell us not to look for lead and
Yeah.
yeah.
So now
I'll bet they're filling.
we're going to be looking for potassium as a bearing coating. That's interesting.
Yeah. I'll bet it,
Oh,
like what you were
really?
saying, it's just remnants of the oil left over in some
Right.
galley in there, because you barely got flagged for potassium, and sodium didn't even get flagged.
Right.
One thing I did see on here, that was your unit time. You left at 0. That should be the miles on the engine. That's why I asked how many miles were on this. That should be
Right.
1.2 million.
Right.
So you think that that oil will last me till 30,000? I'll change it, or
Oh, I would
go
not
further?
do anything to try to find this. Even if we
okay.
even if we didn't think it was caused by that, I would, if this is all I'm looking at, these numbers, all I would say is all you can do with this is wait. You can just keep sampling and wait. That this, if it is some sort of a coolant leak, it's too small to even find at this point. But I just think this might be carryover.
I agree.
I got one other thing too. I appreciate you on that comment. The flash point. Whenever I've got this little nozzle for it, and I don't have any problems with the O-ring on the max mileage, but on that flash point, it stretches that O-ring bad, and it starts leaking within, after the first time I pour, it starts leaking. You can't. It just stretches it out so bad. Is there something else we can use?
Is this on one of our flex spouts, or what they call them? It has like the little red handle you slide back and forth.
Yeah, there's that one.
Now the O-ring.
You've actually sent me a couple of O-rings to it far too, but they just go bad so fast after the first use. I mean, it's kind of harsh chemical.
Because I actually have one on my jug at home. I run a diesel pickup every day, and I run the flash point and the max mileage. I use the same flux spout. Now I use a lot less quantity than the average truck driver. Let me check mine tonight too, because I haven't poured it out. I haven't filled up my 16-ounce bottle in a while. So let me check it tonight and see if mine's leaking. But I haven't had any issues with these just yet. This is new to me, but I'll look into it for you.
Well, I appreciate it. I just maybe there was something. And I don't have the flex spout. I have the one that you turn off and on, and then you lay it down and fill up the little container.
Yep, that's the same one I have.
Okay, all right. All right. Well, I appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
No
Thanks
problem.
for the
you.
call. Let's go to Missouri. Kevin, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I got a couple questions for you. One about a remote tune, and the other one's about a collision mitigation system issue I'm having. On the remote tune, I was in Ohio a couple months ago on a break and called a remote tuner that I located on the Pittsburgh Power website. And after talking to the guy, he told me he could not do a remote tune on a PACCAR, and that nobody could because PACCAR hadn't released their software. But then a couple of weeks ago, I thought I heard Bruce talking about a tune he was doing on a PACCAR where he was raising the horsepower up to 600 or something like that. And so is the remote tuner correct, or can we do a PACCAR?
We can do PACCARs 2016 and older. Whether we can do them remotely. There are sort of two different ways to do it. One is a for sure way that requires the remote tuner to rent a piece of equipment. And once they have that piece of equipment, we can do it remotely. There's also a way we might be able to do it through the laptop, but that's a little bit more touch and go, and the ECM may not survive or be recoverable at that point. So we're still working to make that second process a little bit more reliable so we can do 2016 and older PACCARs everywhere. But in conclusion, I should say we can do it remotely. Just schedule a time with your dealer, with your remote tuner, and then they can schedule with us to make sure that we can get them the equipment in time.
Okay. Most likely it'll be in Kansas City. I think you have a tuner there, and I live in that area, so I'll try to get that set up with you guys then. On the collision mitigation system, I'm not a fan of mine. It's given me troubles in the past, but here recently, every time it rains, it thinks there's a car I'm about to hit, and it slams on the brakes. And I've called Kenworth and asked them if they can disable it. They say no, they can't. They say the only thing they can really do is to make it less sensitive. And I don't see that as a solution to this problem. I was told by a truck driver, don't know whether it was true or not, but that they can be disabled, just Kenworth won't do it.
Well, of course they can be disabled, yeah. They, I don't know what it takes to disable them, but obviously it could be disabled. Do you know what really just makes me crazy about this topic? I built a truck in 05, almost 20 years ago, and I had the Eaton Vorad collision system on there with Smart Cruise. It had the side-looking radar. If you hit your turn signal and somebody was on the right side of the truck, you would get a warning and a flashing light over on the pillar. You could see a red light on the pillar anytime somebody was over there. The collision system worked beautifully for the front-seeking radar. I could set my speed on the cruise with Smart Cruise at 57 miles an hour. If traffic in front of me was going 53 miles an hour, my truck would slow down on its own. I didn't even have to take it off cruise. It would maintain the proper following distance, and when traffic sped up, it would speed up. A beautiful system, and I promise you, I had that truck for over 1 million miles. I sold it to Dave Counts down at Fleet Air Filter. He ran it for another, 8 years or something. I never had a single false reading on that system. Not one, not a bridge, not rain, not signs. How could we have it so right back then? And now I hear these complaints about these systems constantly now.
Oh, I know, and it's dangerous. I almost lost a load of plywood because it slammed on the brakes. And luckily, my straps held, and it only slid forward about 2 feet. But now I pull a tanker, and it's even worse when it slams on the brake because it's an open bore tanker for food grade. And especially when it's trapping me. Yesterday, I had to drive about 45 miles an hour because it rained all day, and it just kept blinking and blinking and blinking and hitting the brakes. Unpredictable. So anyway, I called Kenworth yesterday, and they said, no, we can't disable them.
Hey, Leroy, can you hack this one?
And I can unplug them, but then I lose my cruise control,
That may
which
be.
I
Yeah.
can deal with. But yeah, I mean, I can deal with losing cruise control, but I'd rather just
Rather
have it
not.
gone.
Right. Leroy, you up for a
With my
challenge
current
on this one?
Yeah, with my current
I'm sorry.
knowledge, I agree with your local dealer, but I haven't really looked into it to see if there's an actual another a way to hack it or trick it or disable it without having a check engine or not a check engine light, a check ABS light, and your cruise control not work. But with my current knowledge, as far as I know, yeah, you can only suppress it. You can't shut it off.
Wow.
Suppress it. What do you mean by that?
Make it less
Like
sensitive.
basically
Right.
say that it's not going to slam on the brakes if it's like within X distance. You can
Oh,
click
okay.
in that distance, or you can say do this or do that. Maybe throw a warning. There are some
Yeah.
configurable options in there, but I know there's not just an on-off switch.
I found out you can buy a truck without the system installed, so I don't understand why it just can't be removed or turned off.
Yeah.
I would think that, I mean, I know it has a lot to do with the ABS system as well. So if you could potentially replace the ABS module with an older one that doesn't have that feature, then you could get rid of it. But I don't know how backwards compatible those ABS modules are.
See, that's kind of what I was thinking. The truck that rolled right off the line behind this truck probably didn't have that feature. So it seemed to me like of course, there's a way to reverse this. I just don't know how many parts are included.
If the ABS module is not programmed to have that on-guard system or whatever, then you can unplug it and it's not going to miss it. So there is a potential there to find an ABS module, but ABS modules are just so expensive, and if they're not configured properly, then they're difficult to sort of get configured correctly.
I tried a YouTube fix this morning. Some guys talked about putting tinfoil over the window and the bumper device, and it worked 5 miles, and then it started slamming on the brakes again. So that's kind of a no-go.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm just
that
shocked
was my question, and
that we've gone backwards on these things.
yeah, evidently. This is a 2019 model, and like I said, on a perfect sunny day, I agree with you, Kevin. It works great. It does the adaptive cruise and all that really well. But the minute it starts raining, and makes me wonder if there's an open circuit somewhere getting wet, if it would be an easy fix, if we could locate it. Is it actually thinking the rain is a vehicle, or is you thinking it's an electrical issue?
I mean, yeah, I'm not sure without looking at it in person.
Yeah. Okay.
I know,
Okay.
like the collision avoidance one I have in my car in my Mazda. On my way home, there's a marking on the road that says like slow. There's a corner up ahead, and it thinks there's a car in front of me every day when I go home, and it tries to slam on the brakes every day. I'm like, that's not a car. So I don't know. I just agree with you. It's just better off just to get rid of it. So that might be something that we need to look into.
Okay.
If
All right. Well, thank you guys.
No problem.
You're welcome. All right. Thanks for the call. Let's go to Tennessee. Rulon, welcome to the program.
Hello. I got those bearings looked at. They said they're 100% okay.
All right. So this was the oil sample
oil sample with high lead.
Yeah.
Yep.
Trying to think. I do remember this, and I remember we were waiting to hear. We saw enough lead and copper, right, that I was concerned about the bearings.
Just lead was high.
Just lead.
And 10,000 miles.
Oh, that's right. It was really early on the sample, too.
Yeah. So I had one sample at 50,000, and it was really high, and then so we did it at 10.
And it was still high. Eric, any thoughts on this?
Yep.
That much lead, 2 different samples, and bearings are all fine.
Was it copper up or aluminum or anything?
I thought the copper would have been up because I
No.
normally don't get concerned about bearings until we see some copper at least. If we have a lot of lead and then you start to see copper, you want to check that as quick as you can, and that's usually when I recommend looking at the bearings.
What engine was this again?
Yeah, I don't have a sample in front of me right now.
DD13.
Did you say a DD13?
Yeah.
Okay. Lead could also be a substrate of solder. Do you have any aluminum in your samples?
I do not see that either. Trying to pull it up again. E-oil. Find it. I did email it to you back about on the 18th. That should be harder for you. Sorry about this. I wasn't ready to look at it.
Are you running any fuel additives or anything like that?
I only did the stuff I buy from you guys and the Lucas injector cleaner stuff every now and then. So, the iron was at 88.
Yeah, I remember
lead was
being confused
8
by
the
this
first
sample.
time, but 3 the second. Boron.
Yeah, none of that stuff over
base
on the
was
right's
low
going
the
to
first
tell us
time.
much of anything.
Yeah.
I remember this being a confusing sample. I don't have it in front of me, and I don't remember all the numbers, but I remember thinking that there could be a bearing issue. So I'm glad you got them looked at. I'm glad they're fine. Now all I would do, lead coming from somewhere else, like Eric said, could be a solder issue somewhere. Not a big deal. It's usually kind of like sometimes seeing copper alone at that point. It's just leaching out of the system, and it's not really an indication that anything's wrong. So I would just watch this one.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. And I wouldn't even, at this point, I wouldn't even do early samples. I know we did one at 10,000. We saw more lead again. You had the bearings looked at. It's not that. I would just go back to your 25,000 mile samples and we'll see what happens. Let's go to Pennsylvania. John, welcome.
Hey guys, I was calling. I was having problems with my trailer brakes. It's spread axle, 48-foot flatbed, and the back axle keeps like over tightening versus the front. It's doing too much braking. Any thoughts on that at the valve, I'm guessing?
Anybody?
So these are automatic slack adjusters, correct?
Yeah, it's 21 trailer. I got 200,000 miles on in the back. The back lining's like worn out, and the front's like half. So I put new lining on, and I can feel it like grabbing. And when I'm loaded, obviously they don't grab. But if I shoot them with like my laser heat gun, the backs will be at like 360, 380, and the front are at like 220. So the back is definitely over tightening or over braking.
Eric, do you think Adam would know anything about this?
Either him or Rock, yeah. They would probably be a better person to
Do you want to
discuss
run
this.
back and get one of them and bring them up?
Sure. I'll be right back.
Here's what we just identified. All of us on this call right now like to make the truck go forward better. We're not so worried about stopping it.
Yeah, right. There's the valves there, the way like the 4 hoses come out the bottom, and each one goes to a brake chamber, which applies the air. So I'm wondering if like, is there somehow the back 2 could be applying more air than the front 2?
Are the brake chambers the same size?
Yes, it's all what it was from new, and I did check them. I measured the rods. Everything looks to be the same.
What brand of trailer?
Dorsey.
Did you talk to Dorsey about it?
Good luck.
Why do you say that?
You call them, you leave a message, they call you back. The guy that you talk to, he don't even know anything, but he's going to reach out, and then 2 weeks go by, nobody calls, and you call back, they forget who you were.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Very frustrating.
I mean, to me, it's a simple system. There's not much to it, so I was going to just buy a valve and put on, and, there ain't much left to do.
You take the prize of the day. You take the prize of the day for the strange call.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Or the strange problem.
I was going to make up like a gauge, an air gauge, and a piece of hose and screw it in each one of them 4 ports and push the brake pedal and see if one's pushing more air than the others.
It's not a bad idea. Let's see if one of our 2 lead guys have any idea on this one.
We will see. John, anything else? Are we
60 series?
Hold on one second. Are we thinking is somebody like going out to ask somebody in the garage? Or are we going to put him on hold? Or are we?
Yeah, they're going to bring them up.
Okay.
It's just a far walk, Kevin. You know how far it is.
Oh no, and sometimes it's hard to find somebody. You never know where they might be. So,
hey, and Kevin, when we get a break-in calls, Leroy wants to talk about a fellow by the name of Cole that has a newer T680 with the PACCAR engine, 264 gears, 12-speed auto shift, and he's running between 9 and 11 mile per gallon at 55 mile per hour right now.
Good to hear. Good to hear. All right, we'll talk about that. John, what's your question on the Series 60?
I got 3 2019 gliders with them in, and they're all right around 600,000. And the turbo just went out. I was wondering if I should throw 2 new turbos on the other 2. Is that common around that time?
No, it's not common. So just replace the turbo and put our performance turbo on it. It'll let the engine breathe a lot better and get rid of that stock wastegate turbo.
Okay.
But no, don't replace them. Just replace them.
Yeah. They usually run the life of the engine.
No, they usually 800,000 plus anyway. You have drivers on this. Is the driver maybe shutting the engine off when it's too hot?
No, he could be. No, I don't think so, because I don't think he shuts the truck off ever.
Oh, okay.
Oh boy! All right, hey John, we're going to put you back in the queue. We'll instead of grabbing another call, we'll cover a couple things and wait to see if we get an answer on this. Leroy, go ahead with yours.
Yeah, so Cole has been, we've been talking back and forth for a couple months now. He has, I believe, a 2020 T680 with the PACCAR MX-13. And I was just thinking the other day, because I saw an article about PACCAR coming out with a new carb-compliant MX-13, which basically just sounds like they're going the route everybody else is with, they changed the internal parts, they're trying to run lower RPM, sort of copying everybody else, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And so this guy, yeah, he gets great fuel mileage and he has great data. And the thing is, like you always say, if you do have one route or a couple runs that you do really well, it's, that's not the biggest deal. But he's been recording for a couple months now. And yeah, like Bruce said, he's getting between 9.8 and 11.1. So the last couple of months, I think he says his worst is 8.74.
That's impressive.
And it's just, like I said, a complete stock MX-13.
Yesterday, he pumped out 11.51.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's really impressive.
And he's driving 264 gears. In overdrive, he gets down to 955 RPM. Otherwise, he's around the 1030 to 1075. But
and that
he's got a bunch more stuff in mind.
And that does improve emissions.
Yeah. And he's been noticing a change in his DEF mileage with the Flashpoint, which I haven't heard a lot of other people say that, but he seems to be noticing a long-term trend in that. But like data, you always have to look at it over a long period of time.
Hey, Leroy, I've got some good news on that.
What's that?
Our newest version of fuel gauges, which is still in beta, but we're working through some stuff on it. Now you will be able to, we have people who track their DEF, but right now you actually have to set up a second truck and use it to track your DEF mileage. But in the new app, you'll be able to track DEF and fuel mileage on the same truck right in the app. And we will be showing DEF consumption as a mileage and as a percentage of fuel burned. So it'll be a really quick way to look at a truck and say, well, it's getting 300 miles per gallon on DEF, but it's this percentage of fuel. I think it's going to be a nice diagnostic tool for us.
Yeah, and I don't know what like Henry or Joel or any of those guys are getting on their DEF consumption off the top of my head, but he states in his email he's getting around 300 miles per gallon on DEF.
If I remember right, I think both the Volvo and the Freightliners are running in I'm thinking it's like 150 to 200 miles per gallon. I don't think it's anywhere near 300. Oh. But we've been hearing some of the other engines are using less DEF. And that's why I'm really excited about getting it on the app. Then we'll have lots of good data about which engine, what you can expect out of each engine, what's good, what might indicate a problem. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, he's talking about doing the flow below thing. I would like him to get hooked up with Steve Crone and do like a whole aerodynamics on his trailer. But I don't know if he has his own trailer or if he's carrying others. But
well, one of the like when Joel is reporting the mileage on his 2, now I think maybe even 3 trucks he's going to be running. One of the things we always talk about is they're in an operation right now. They're running, just general freight with their own authority, pulling loads off load boards, pretty typical stuff, and no set trailer. They're whatever trailer they happen to hook up to that day, and that's then figured into the average. And, one of their trucks is over 11, one's solidly into the 10 range. Same with Henry sometimes. But here's what we know about that. Mesilla Valley did a ton of testing on this. They compared just a bone stock trailer. Trailer just comes off the line, whatever tires the factory puts on it, no aerodynamics, no improvements. If they compare that to what they considered their most optimized trailer, low rolling resistance tires, all the aerodynamics, 1.2 miles to the gallon. That's big.
Oh, I believe it, yeah.
Yeah, and so now we're talking about some of these, we could be looking at trucks that could be getting 12.
Yeah, I think it's just a really exciting time for all of that. Yeah. I mean, I like what Joel's doing with, you just pick any trailer and he gets awesome fuel mileage, but it's also exciting for a lot of these guys just to see what they can do and see how aerodynamics works in the real world. And, maybe this can translate someday. I mean, not anytime soon, but someday to just trailers just being sort of all aerodynamic. It reminds me of that quote, the 3 stages of truth. Have you heard this one where it's like, initially it's ridiculed and then it turns into just like self-evident? It's like, of course all of our trailers are aerodynamic. Why wouldn't we have that? I can't remember what the 3 stages are, but
well, I experienced them. The first signature truck we built with the 6x2, people lost their mind. You're an idiot. You're going to be stuck everywhere. Why would you do this? This isn't worth all the trouble. It's not. We took so much heat and criticism over that one thing on that truck, and now that every OEM offers it, and it's becoming the norm.
I just looked at it. Yeah, so you read exactly what this quote is. So the quote, to be exact, is: first, it is ridiculed; second, it is violently opposed; third, it is accepted as being self-evident. So that's exactly what you're saying. It's at first you make fun of it, then people just, oh, it's snake oil, this is garbage.
Right.
Like, I can't believe this, you're an idiot. And then it turns into, well, yeah, why wouldn't you put 264s in? Oh, yeah, why wouldn't you do this? Why wouldn't you drive an aerodynamic truck?
Yep. Yeah, we've been
But
through it all.
here's Cole's last 4 fuel ups from Shreveport, Louisiana to Stockton, California, with a moderate load of Honda ATVs. The broker said it was 25,000 pounds. He had 10.77, 10.7, 11.51, and 11.0.
Wow, that's impressive. And I don't care what you have in the
Yes, it
trailer.
is.
Really, I know it matters, but we pull all kinds of freight, and when we're talking about, not only can we see every fill up, we can see the 30-day average. That's impressive.
And he's been running cruise control, and I keep asking him why, and he's not answering me. So
Is it
I said, you could gain
possible?
another half.
Is it possible he's got an optimized cruise of some kind? Some of these cruise systems are becoming pretty
He has a hard
sophisticated.
cruise.
Okay.
It only varies 1 mile per hour.
Okay. Interesting. Some of them are getting pretty impressive, but that's good to hear. All right.
Also, Paul called Angie. Angie texted me. The gentleman with the air brake problem. You want to bring him back on?
Yes. That was John.
Yeah, Eric back too.
Yeah. John,
Yep, I'm here.
go ahead. What do we got?
Okay. Paul said call 1-800-AIR-BRAKE, which is 800-247-2725.
I'm sorry, bro. I just got a pen. Could you say that one more time?
800.
Yep.
247.
Yep.
2725.
Okay.
All right. Anything else on that one?
Anything, Eric?
Actually, the guy that I need to ask about it is off till tomorrow. He's one of our younger techs, but he's got a little bit more experience on the air brakes than anybody else here.
Got it.
So if you want to call the shop tomorrow, we can maybe go over it too with Toby.
Okay, that's what I'll do.
All right. Perfect. All right. And since we took kind of a little break there, I got one thing I wanted to mention, and I'm going to be talking about this on one of my other shows. I've been waiting to see if we were going to see articles like this. Here's the headline, the article. FreightWaves reported C.H. Robinson cut 80 of its 150 U.S. sales reps, reducing its sales team by over 50% as part of a shift towards technology. Once having 650 sales reps, the company now has around 70 nationwide.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been wondering when
Time for
AI
them-
and technologies.
time for them to go buy a truck.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing we have to remember. In any company, labor is always one of your biggest costs. And in the brokerage industry, there is no doubt about that. When a company like C.H. Robinson can go from 650 sales reps to 70, and technology is cheap. I mean, technology is a one-time investment, usually in some upkeep, and it's pretty darn cheap compared to, let's see, how many did they lose here? Like 580 sales reps. You figure most of those guys probably made somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 plus taxes, plus benefits, plus office space, plus all the equipment a person has to have, and desks and chairs, and that is a significant cut in the cost of operation. And in a free market, what that means is C.H. Robinson will go after freight at lower rates because they can afford to. This technology and the big shift to AI now is it's kind of scary. I'll be keeping an eye on that one. Like I said, I'll probably be talking about that on another show. Let's get back to the calls. Let's go to Kentucky. Shane, welcome to the program.
Hey, since I've been listening for a while. I know a little bit about the electrical stuff that y'all was talking about. But first, my thing is I have a '07 14-liter. It's been repaired. It's the one Bruce was supposed to let me know when they got a new turbo because I'm running at 1702. But anyways, I've switched over to the T6, the full synthetic oil. That's what my oil sample is that. Before I ran the standard 1540, but I noticed, and I'm sure you've talked about this before, can I run 540 synthetic? Like I said, it's a '07 16-liter, a 14-liter without EGR valve.
Yes, you can run.
Okay.
The first number in oil is not all that important.
Oh, right. Well, I know I used to be like a T100 rep for Amsoil, and that's what I would run, but it's just too damn difficult anymore to deal with trying to get it.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure.
The weight of the oil is more important. The older engines are still recommended on 40 weight. We have people that run 30 weight in the older engines and do okay with it and like it, but 40 weight is the recommended oil. The first number is viscosity at cold temperatures. So we're really looking at not operating temperatures. So we're looking at the lower that first number is, that would be more of a cold weather kind of oil, easier starts, that kind of thing. But it's 40 weight and the APIs are correct. So yeah, you can run that. Eric, are you looking at this oil sample? Do you have this one?
Yeah, there's some stuff on here that's raising an eyebrow.
And
first,
the soot.
Like both of them are raised.
The soot and the viscosity. I'm actually, I would have thought this would have been higher than a 2. Those numbers are really odd. I don't know if this time the magnesium or calcium has anything to do with anything or not. Most of the time I just ignore those numbers up there, but I'm a little concerned about that. And why did they point out and even make a write-up about the base when it's at 3.5? That's not low.
On their scaling system, it is. It's not, but it is getting low. But I'm more concerned about the oxidation and nitration.
And that may be what's causing the high viscosity too. Well, the soot is adding to the viscosity, and the oxidation and nitration combined with all that. So the viscosity, I mean, your oil right now is like molasses. It's at 18 on viscosity. That's thick.
No. Did you say you're running T6 oil this time?
Yes. Now, before it was a regular, not synthetic, 1540 Rotella.
40 weight.
I will say this too.
40 weight T6, your viscosity should be in the 12s, not 18.
But is it 5W40 or 1540 T6?
No,
they do have a 5W40.
No, this was 1540.
Okay.
I bought the oil and took it to where, but I'll run I never changed the filters. That was the regular 2 Detroit filters. I don't have an OPS yet. And that was 24,000 miles on it.
Are you using any kind of oil additive?
Not whatsoever. Now, I've listened to you enough to know. I used to do some Lucas and see that I put Lucas in the normal oil before. But like I said, this oil's got 24,000 miles on it, the sample. I did change it because I'm like, well, I'm just trying to get a baseline and see. Plus, this engine. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say I would have changed it too. This is such a goofy reading. We want to kind of reset things and see what's going on. Something is not right about this engine.
This engine has somewhere around, I'm guessing, because I bought it used. Somebody else had built it. I bought it used, and it's probably got 800 to 900,000 miles on it.
What's the fuel economy on this truck?
I think it's great, and I mean,
you listen to this show a lot. Come on, I'm not going to let you slide with an answer like I think it's great. Give me a number.
No, but it ain't great compared to the new ones. It's 6.69 right now, and
That's
I'm
not
80,000
that,
pounds.
that's not
running,
great for anything. Really, that is
I
not
run
that
at
is
75 and 80 mile an hour. I'm not gonna lie. That's why I say I run it hard.
Well, then it's great. It's great fuel mileage at that speed.
but
Yeah, but see, I've got the too small turbo on.
Hey,
You
wait a
told me
minute.
so my EGTs get up.
I know.
Hold on.
I just
Bruce.
sent a message to Sean to see if we have that turbo.
Bruce,
You shouldn't run that fast at that little turbo.
Bruce, maybe you know more about this truck than I do. I just saw this on the oil sample. Do you realize this is a non-EGR 14 liter?
Right.
It's repaired.
Right.
It's repaired.
Well, this
I
is
know
why.
what you're saying.
So now we're looking at a goofy oil sample that makes no sense whatsoever. We're not able to figure it out,
Okay.
and now we know why.
Okay.
This is why we shouldn't do this kind of stuff to these engines. We end up with.
Well, it was already done when I got it. But I know the flash code 39 old.
Did somebody put a gun to your head and make you buy it?
Oh no, but
hold
I
on.
like it. I'm a
Hold
dollar
on.
Freightliner guy.
Hold on. Once we get the right turbo on, this fuel mileage is going to come up,
Well,
and all the bad things in the oil sample are going to decrease, because right now he's running high on soot.
Extremely high.
I do think I have a small charge air leak too. I'm just being honest, because I build right at 30 pounds, 31 pounds of boost with this little turbo. And it's a 515 stock program. It's what, when I hook my laptop to it. And I'm the one that you actually said, do I need a job with y'all? And I got information, I think, to help you with your eating bull rad too. But I just wanted to get a baseline sample with the oil change.
If I don't get an answer back from Sean, call Eric after the show, and Eric and I will talk about what turbo you need. Okay? I think we have them. We should have them.
Hey, Bruce.
You didn't whenever I called. Go ahead.
Bruce, do me a favor on this one. Let's track this. Let's make a note so that we don't forget this one. I want to see an oil sample after you guys get a hold of this. I want to see if we can fix this.
Okay.
Now, with the guy with the bull rad, that eating bull rad, I probably worked on your truck when it was new at the factory, Kevin, if it was built in Cleveland, North Carolina. I'm very familiar with that.
Yeah.
This is what I think that possibly could happen. Now, the newer trucks, I'm not all that much up on some of the stuff, but I think if he undid the data link, the 1939 data link off of that system, you can reflash the the ABS module, and if it don't see that other module, it should reset itself. And then I think you could go and recalibrate, like tell the engine that it doesn't have adaptive cruise. That's what I think could happen. But, until you do something, you kind of sometimes ain't exactly sure.
Well, that's a good
Hey,
start.
Sean,
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Sean just texted me back, so call Sean, our parts manager, after the show. We have the turbo.
Okay, all right. And the guy with the brake thing, I don't remember which slack adjuster it is, but they have to be on a certain side. There's a right and a left. I wonder if they're switched around.
I got a comment. Where was it? I get text messages and comments all over the place, and I didn't have time, but we were doing something. Somebody sent something about 19 or 23-inch brake shoes. Where did I see that?
That would make sense.
Yeah, I don't know. Now I can't figure out where I saw that. Oh, wait a minute. I think I know where it was. I think somebody sent me a message on X. Let me check there real quick. Not inch. I'm sorry. It was 23,000 pound shoes versus 19,000. I have no idea what that means. I'm just reading what from somebody sent me. I don't really know what that, if anybody knows what that means, I don't. Maybe he's just got the wrong shoes for the setup he's got.
Well, I've got to get off here. I just want to find out about that oil sample because I'm going to.
Yeah.
When would you think I should do it again? You think
I
10,000, 20,000 again?
let's do
After we change the turbo. After you change the turbo and you change the oil, you're not running a straight weight oil, are you? Did I hear you say that?
No, it's a 1540.
It's a T6.
And it's a synthetic, so the viscosity is way too high. It's the soot, the oxidation, all of that's causing it right now. So just so we have a really good comparison, change the turbo and do the full 25,000 before you sample.
Okay.
At 75 miles an hour on the level, what's your turbo boost?
If I'm level, at 75 mile an hour, really nothing.
No, come on, it's got to be something.
And it does.
Give us a number.
Got to be up. Should be. I'm waiting for you to tell me 18 to 22 pounds.
Oh God, no! It ain't nowhere near that. Not if I'm level, keeping it at 75. This truck does its 355s with a 13 speed. But if anything, it would be. I'm looking at my gauge now. It would be 8 to 10.
That seems
I
really
do
low.
have a bully dog. I don't know that matters.
No, most everybody that's running the 12.7 turbo on a 14 liters between 18 and 22 at highway
I'm
speeds.
nowhere near that. Now I have a manual gauge, and I mean I can hook my laptop up, but it don't do no any good because
maybe it's because of this boost leak. Maybe it's because of this boost leak you have. Might be bigger than you think.
And you could be right. I really need it. When it goes back to the shop, I'm just going to go ahead and change it. Do y'all have a certain brand besides? I just normally use OE, parts.
Yeah. Our brand, the ones we use, we've had zero problems with these things. And what's the warranty? I think it's 7 years. Is that what it is, Eric?
It's 3 years
Talking about
now.
charge air coolers?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Talking about the charge air cooler?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, who'd you tell me to ask for when I call back?
Sean.
Sean. I should remember that because I'm Shane.
There you go.
There you go.
Right. Well,
All right.
Shane
And hey, I gotta move along. Our calls are just piling up. We've kind of been. And we have a call about the 23,000-pound shoes, so we can clarify that as well. We're going to go to Montana. Jason, welcome.
Hey guys, first time calling. So they make different lining with different metal in them. You'll see different abrasive pads.
Okay.
And they'll be down to 23, which is the heavier, and then they'll do down to 19, which is lighter. And they'll have a different friction coefficient, so you'll see more heat. The key of that one is he said he changed the rear brake shoes on that trailer. He said he had changed them.
Okay.
Early.
So I'm at a little disadvantage on this call because I was doing something else because I knew everybody else was handling this call and I didn't have much to put in. So I missed a couple things. So it sounds like this might be a possible answer, though.
Yeah, I've run into that before. In fact, I got different shoes on my tractor, and I've got some hot spots on drums on the new shoes and not on the other ones.
Okay.
And I put a heavier lining on it.
Got it.
And I've got one other question.
Sure.
If I can. John Romanesco from Rocky Mountain Truck Service here in Great Falls was going to call you guys about the 570 ECM that you can put on the N14. There's a whole adapter to that. You got to have a camshaft, front cover, crank gear. Comes with the ECM. It's a big kit. And they was going to talk to you about programming that because they've been having a problem getting them right from Cummins. Have you guys run?
Yeah, we have. We actually went aftermarket on those ECMs because of the cost difference. When you convert that to it's a 570 CPL, but it's off an 8.3, and I forget what CM 570, it was a different CPL number. It was a whole conversion kit.
What's this now?
For the N14.
Oh, they switched to a CM 876 ECM. It's like a 2005 ISM ECM.
Yeah,
like an
your sensor.
ISM, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, ECM, the harness, sensors. The
Yeah, they're
cam cover.
fantastic though. I love them.
I like our aftermarket ECMs.
I like the
Can you?
version.
Can
The version's
you?
just way better than that absolute crap heap of a select ECM.
Yeah. I've got that kit, and I've just never put it back into my engine. I had to buy a recon, and it came with ECM. So I got that one sitting in the shop, and I haven't done it. And I talked to Romanesco. He actually called me and said they can't get it to run right. They have all of a sudden you'll be cruising along and you'll be asking for power, and it's nothing, and full bore. And it's got two of them that are doing it. They're programmed from Cummins. So he was going to call you guys. I recommend calling you.
Yeah, we had one in here when they first made this amendment. The guy was at another Cummins dealer, same problem. They couldn't get it to run right. They brought it here, and I think we did figure it out. This has been quite a few years ago.
Yeah, that was it got stuck in smoke control mode. The OFC was all being funny.
Yeah. We got it running good, though, after we got into it.
Okay. Well, I will. I've got another engine I'm gonna build, and I'll just have you guys program it for me then.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks for the call. Let's keep moving through the calls here. Let's go to Georgia. Tony, welcome to the program. Oh, let me hit that button again. Tony, welcome.
Hello?
Yep, you're there now.
Hi. First-time caller and actually first-time listener. I just met a guy at a truck stop and we're talking about trucks, and he said, man, I know about Kevin Rutherford. I know Joel Morrow, and I know Pittsburgh Power. So a little bit about myself. Been on the road for 15 years. I'm on my third truck. The last one I had was a 2019 Volvo with a turbo compound, 247 gears, and I lost it in an accident. And I've been following, the Volvo pages, Joel, all MPG. I learned about AirDog, about, stuff. And now I have a 99 Volvo with an N14. I bought last year, and I started rolling in February.
Okay.
And it's a new experience for me because I've only ever been with newer trucks. So with this one, it's kind of like hands-on. You got to learn a lot. You got to apply a lot of parts. You got to look otherwhere to. I just want to get some advice from you guys.
Sure.
It's a 99 Volvo N14, 13 speed. I got the 373 ratio. I kept the original. I changed the tires, but I kept the 24.5.
Okay.
And when you ask but you know how it is. When you ask people around, everybody has an opinion. And sometimes you're left having more questions than answers, and you're more confused because like people lean left, right.
Tony,
go like this, go like that. Yes.
Let me make you a promise. Before you leave here, whatever answer we give you about whatever, I want you to follow it up with why. Make us explain everything we tell you. And the next time somebody else gives you advice, do the same thing with them. Ask them why, make them make it make sense. Because here's what I will tell you happens a lot. People repeat what they've heard. Without understanding it, they just take it at face value, and it gets repeated over and over and over. And pretty soon people say, well, of course that's true.
Yeah,
nobody ever stopped to question
by the time
it.
the information gets to you,
Right.
it's completely, everybody adds or subtracts something, and you don't even know.
So one of the things we will promise you here, we will always explain our answer. And I'll keep explaining it until you understand it. And
I'm here to learn, and because I'm like a sponge now that I'm 44 now, and I've never been in the situation when I had to because I had a newer truck, and you don't really, you have warranty, and you're just filling up.
So
you don't deal with most of the stuff that people with older trucks, hands-on and hands-on. But now I realize in the past couple of months that somebody helped me, and I changed the alternator. I put a new starter in the truck. I've already spent like $20-something thousand because the truck was sitting for a while. So, every truck
So-
that sits for a while and you don't know the history, all the work, the
Tony,
engine has been rebuilt before. We don't know.
Yeah, so I can tell you called the right place. I doubt that there's any place else you can go in the country. I'm going to brag a little bit that you would find people that know more about this setup than we do.
I love listening to you guys. I've just listened for a couple of 40 minutes, 50 minutes, and you guys are, calming voices and full of knowledge.
For a long, long time.
What size tires do you have?
He's 24
What's that?
fives.
24.5.
tire?
I kept the.
Okay, is it the tall or the low pro?
It's the. I think it's the low pro 24.5.
Low pro 24.5 and 370 gears, so that basically almost makes you equivalent to a 355. And you said did you say it was a 13 speed?
Yes, it's a 13 speed that I had to relearn how to drive, watching videos on YouTube and stuff because I was an automatic guy. I was a swing wheel holder, but now
so let me
I'm
ask,
going
does it have a turbo boost gauge in it?
It doesn't. It doesn't have any. Even the dash is not working properly. So because the RPM, the needle was getting stuck at 14. I got a bunch of gauges that don't work, and I bought a bully dog so I can read out the RPMs and stuff and kind of learn how to drive. Because when I bought the truck, the guy that I bought it from, he said, "Man, you gotta change the speeds at 1500 and 1700, the splits, and never when you're loaded, don't keep it under 1450." So he gave me the first steps into this truck because I had no idea. And since then, I just started, asking people around, go on Facebook, N14 owners, older Volvo owners, and I keep asking them questions all the time, and I ask them advice.
Okay.
Tony,
So,
hold on a second, Bruce.
So we don't have a boost gauge, and we probably don't have a pyrometer. Is that an 1844 CPL? Do you know the CPL of the engine?
I don't. I read
a
about it a lot.
460 or 500?
I think it's set for 525. It's a Select Plus, and I think it's set. The guy that I bought it from, he sent it to Indiana, had it sandblasted, the frame painted. It looks really, really nice.
Nice.
And he told me that he's sent. I don't know if it's Midwest something. He lives in Chicago, and I think the ECM is set for. My bully dog, it says it's a 525. 525.
Did your bully dog tell you turbo boost?
The turbo boost, actually, yeah, I can see. I think the little thing that it tells me the boost. Yeah, I got the boost throttle.
How many pound will it make wide open?
Oh, I don't know. That's the thing. I'm such a newbie in some of the things, and words and technical things that.
So does it tell you the RPM?
Yes, I can see the RPM. So at 67 miles an hour, I have around 1500 RPM. I'm not even worried about the MPG. I want to learn how to drive it properly, so it's gonna last me a long time. Because I don't want to buy a new truck now. I don't trust anything new. I don't know. I lost confidence after the pandemic.
So you want to run the max mileage catalyst and the flashpoint because that engine was not designed for ultra low sulfur fuel, and you want to put a torsional damper and the mercury filled engine balancer on the front of the crank because that probably was never changed. And then get in the shop and let's get the instrument panel working. And then we can go from there, but it's basically 14 to 1800 RPM, and you can go along the level at 12 and 1300 so long as you're not using a lot of boost and pushing a lot on the throttle.
Mm-hmm. And so 67 when I'm 80,000 pounds, keep it at 1500. And everybody was talking about don't log the engine. So on these N14s with the setup that I have, this guy was like, man, when you're loaded, when you're going uphill, even if you're not fully loaded, but just make sure you don't fall under 1450 RPM. It doesn't matter. Just you choose the gears, but make sure you don't fall under.
I think it's a little high. I mean, I don't see a problem managing that down to 1250 or 1300 at times, but it's not a big deal. 100 RPM on that engine doesn't make a big difference. It's got a pretty wide power band. So it's a really easy engine to drive. It's very forgiving. It's not an engine that we have to keep in a really tight RPM range. It really is a nice, simple design and pretty easy to drive. Just so you know, I don't know how many trucks I've owned over, all that time, lots of them. But the last truck I owned was a 99 Volvo that had sat for almost 7 years with almost no miles put on it. It had a Series 60 in it, 390 gears, and low Pro 22.5s. Now, that was a killer truck for fuel mileage as long as you didn't want to go faster than 60. If you kept it 55 to 60, I was running around at about 40,000 pounds gross vehicle weight. I was pulling a toy hauler trailer with it, and it was a single axle, a 4x2. I could get 13 plus miles to the gallon when I really worked at it. Now, we had some modifications. We had the OPS and synthetic oil. We had a FAS on that one. Bruce, we had your tune. Okay. I absolutely love the tune on that one. Very, very similar truck, very, very similar circumstances, and that was just a great truck. In fact, I sold it to one of our listeners, and I haven't heard from him in a couple of years, but for a while he was reporting back, and it was, it was really working well for him.
Yeah, because I don't want to, I'm not one of those guys that I see a lot of guys, all they want is the horsepower, 700-800. For me, this is a working truck. This is how I keep, food on the table for my family. So
exactly.
I'm not about racing a truck. We're not in a racing competition. We're about making money, keeping things, doing things smart, and learn how to, add to your bottom line.
That
so
is a money making
say this:
truck.
when we give a guy 600 or 700 horsepower, it's not for racing. If we want to race, we got to go up over 1,000. 750 horsepower. That just makes a nice driving truck. You don't have to work as hard when you have the horsepower. You stay in your high gear longer, and you push less with your pedal. And properly driven.
Like in insulting way to bash on the guys that want to do that. But I just heard that with this truck, you don't want to really go. It's not a cat. You don't really want to. Or I don't know. You guys tell me. How far can you push it?
M14 has no problem at 600 horsepower, 650. Okay. So first we got to see what CPL it is and the condition of the engine, and look at an oil analysis and get it on the dyno and do things like that. But now they're not a problem up in the 600 horse range. Okay? And it just makes driving more pleasurable for you.
Yeah, I had EDT, and the guy the reason I'm calling, he listens to you all the time. He's following your advice. He told me I saw that he was fueling up, and he had the everyday treatment from Hot Shot Secret, and I was like, oh, I'm using the same thing. I'm out. Then we started talking. I saw that he had a Series 60, and he told me about you guys, and also about the Max fuel thingy that I had no idea. I know about Pittsburgh Power, but I've never used. I know you guys are awesome, but I've never used anything because, I had a new truck. I didn't pretty much, and he told me about that thing, and I'm curious now. Should I run it instead of the Hot Shot?
You should run the max mileage fuel-borne catalyst because it burns 70% of the soot and carbon in the combustion chamber. And you should also, for fuel mileage and again to make the engine even quieter, put the flash point in it. Try it. Compare them. Put the max mileage first and run a tank full or two, and then add the flash point to the max mileage and see how you like it. Today's diesel fuel is very poor. When you had your newer truck, you should have been running it because you had full emissions, and it keeps the emissions trouble free. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right.
The last couple of minutes have been, I think I'm in a rough area over here. But thank you so much. I won't keep you guys any longer, but I'll keep listening. I'll keep learning, and if I have any more questions, I'll keep in touch. You guys keep doing what you're doing. You're amazing. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Tony, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Looking forward to you being a regular caller. Let's go to Oregon. Andy, welcome to the program.
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Good. What's on your mind today?
Well, I kind of did something stupid. And by stupid, I mean, I bought a 95 Kenworth W900, and I ended up dropping about, I don't know, somewhere around $13,000 in maintenance into it in the first 6 months because the previous owner didn't take Series 60. It's a pre-emission.
I don't think
Series
you made. I think that was a good buy. Series 60
okay.
and a W9. I'd buy that in a heartbeat if the truck was in decent shape.
Well, long story short, my first service I did on it, I didn't sample the oil because I didn't know anything about the engine and mileage on the oil, anything like that, and I had a massive amounts of oil leaks. So I changed out the oil pan gasket, tried to fix the valve cover gasket. The valve cover actually ended up being cracked. And then second service rolls around, I guess, do a sample on it, and comes back with some wear metals out of the air compressor, and I changed out the air compressor.
Wait. Hold on. I got a question. How did we know the wear metals came out of the air compressor?
One of the guys from Pittsburgh Power called me. I can't remember who.
Got it. I just want to make sure, because that's not an easy call to make sometimes. So I want to make sure whoever called it was qualified. Good. All right.
So changed out the air compressor, changed out the filter dryer, and about 2 to 3 weeks later, Gremlin tried to exit the engine, and now I put a hole in the side of the block.
Yikes.
Yeah. I just got the truck back from Western State Cat in Pocatello. They put a used engine in it for me. It cost me about $23,000 altogether. And as I was
hey, Andy,
back to...
let me make a comment, maybe ease your mind a little bit. I'm big on doing lots of inspections before you buy trucks, oil samples, ECM reports, everything we can get. None of those things...
That's where I messed up.
No, you didn't. That's where I'm going to help you out here. None of those things could have predicted what happened. Now, maybe they would have shown us other reasons not to buy this. I can't even predict that. But a rod coming through the block or a connect, whatever it might be, is a catastrophic failure that we have no way of predicting.
Okay. Good to know. Now I'm not kicking myself in the ass.
Yeah, well, you know, I was just talking about the last truck I had, the 99 Volvo. Same thing. I oil sampled. The oil was spotless. The engine was tuned beautifully. Everything was running great. I was bobtailing and decelerating when I put a rod through the block. Had no idea it was coming. Yeah.
So, well, as I was bobtailing it back to Twin Falls from Pocatello, it's got a 15-speed deep reduction in it, and I was in top gear. I had the cruise set at what I thought was 68, was more like 72 because the
speedometer's off. Right.
And the RPMs were sitting at about 1600, maybe 1650. Is that too high for these Series 60s?
It's not going to hurt anything, but it's not optimal.
Okay. What would I do to get the RPMs down into a more optimal range?
You're either going to have to slow down or change the rear end ratios. What do you know? What rear end ratios are in there?
I have no idea. I'd have to call.
Well, we could probably get on an engine on a truck that old. You may not figure it out anyway. Let's go. We might be able to figure it out though. What tire size?
They're 22.5s.
Low pros or 11R? Okay, so low pros. And you said at what speed you were at 1650?
72.
72 at 1650. And it's a 15 speed. Do we know by chance the final ratio? Does anybody remember what the common final ratios were on the 15 speeds?
I do not.
I don't
I've
either.
only seen, I think, 2 in here.
Yeah, they're pretty rare. We haven't seen them in a while. I mean, I'm thinking that at you've got to have 390s or worse or lower to see
Yeah,
these kind of numbers.
I heard one of my buddies saying that it might be a 396. It's just by what how
Three-
it runs.
three-
My driver, anyways, he was saying he thought it was a 396.
396 sounds more like a General Motors engine from the 70s. I don't remember a gear ratio that was ever a 396. Not to say it doesn't exist, it might have, but
Right.
390s, 410s maybe even. But it's
Yeah,
hard to know.
Somewhere between 390 and 410.
Yeah. 72 is just way too fast. I mean, the first thing you should do before you ever do anything is just slow down until we get this figured out. And there are a couple ways we could figure out the gear ratio on an older truck, but we're going to be somewhere in that 390 range, I'm pretty sure. Ideally, if you're going to change the gears on this truck, I'd want to look at that transmission, but I would go all the way to 264s.
264s.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because the truck is set up to pull either a belt trailer or it's because it's got a PTO on it, or what I do pull normally are double hoppers, grossing out anywhere from 105 to 112.
Oh,
On
now
accident, I do go over the 112.
So this is where we really, now it's a good thing you have the 15 because it probably has a lower first gear and a lower reverse than most 13 speeds do. But again, the 15s are so rare. What you need to do, what I would do before you make any decisions, get the model number off that transmission. And then we can pull up a chart of all of the gear ratios. So we can see the low gear, we can see reverse. So we have to make sure we don't go 264s might be too high because you've got a startability issue with that kind of weight. So we got to check, but the 15 speed may make up for that. And we can push those numbers a little bit. Then we can see the final ratio on the 15 speed. And we need that information to really choose that rear end ratio. But that's really what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to change these gears.
Okay. Yeah, because the other thing too is it's my second truck. So my first truck is a 24 Peterbilt 567 with the 500 efficiency Cummins with an 18 speed. And my 30-day average pulling the weight that I do is like 5.3.
Oof. Yeah.
It sucks. I know.
That does suck. And look, that's not a ton of weight. That's several tons, but we're not talking about extreme weights here that are going to have big impacts on fuel economy. We should not be in the 5 range with these kind of weights. We should be in the 7 or 8 range still with that kind of weight if the truck's spec'd and running right.
Right. Well, it's a fleet ride. From because I'm doing the thing that you don't want anybody to do. I'm leasing this truck from a carrier.
Oh boy.
And the second truck is actually from on a loan. So at the end of
hold on a second. Hold on a second. Wait. Boy, you're making this difficult. I want to straighten this out though. The second truck is on a loan, and when the loan's paid off, it's your truck. That's not correct. If it's a loan, you own the truck and the title is in your name and there's a lien against the title. You own the truck.
Yeah.
Not at the end.
That's what I mean.
You own the truck right now. You are the legal owner of that truck. You're also the legal owner of a loan against that truck. So technically, if you don't
Yeah.
pay the loan, they can then come and take the truck from you, but you are the owner, and that matters. But I've
Yeah.
got a bigger question. Why are you in a
what's
lease
that?
purchase and buying a second truck?
Because did something stupid. Really, what ended up happening, and it's kind of, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. I went to work for this company about 5 years ago, and about 3 years in, I was just getting burnt out, and I put in my 2-week notice, and then the owner of the company said, "Hey, why don't you do this?" And so I ended up leasing a truck from him. I get a little more freedom with picking my loads, and don't have to run nearly as hard. Because when I was a company driver, I'd average 35 to
So
3,800 miles.
let's do something
5
here.
days.
Let's do something here before I just. Well, let's just.
Go
So
ahead.
with the lease purchase truck, what are
Mm-hmm.
and be honest if you just don't know the number. What is your profit per
Okay.
mile after all expenses on that truck historically?
I have the numbers. I have to jump on the my profit gauges.
Good. I'm glad
See
you
what
have
that is.
them. You should know them better, but I'm glad you have them. Can you pull it up
Well,
fairly
my
quick?
wife does. I'm working on that right now.
Okay.
If I can
I mean, this
actually.
is everything. And what I mean by that is I don't really care if somebody's in a lease purchase. I will do everything I can to talk somebody out of it. But once they're in it, I don't necessarily have to talk you out of it. We just have to look at the numbers. If the numbers make sense, then stay in it. Most of the time they don't. And that's why I try to keep people away from it. And here's another big, big risk. And I always want to repeat this. Now, on the other truck, your second truck that you got a loan and bought, remember I said you're the legal owner of that truck. The only way anybody
Yeah.
could ever take that away from you is you failed to make the payments. So it is completely in your control. Do you realize no matter how much money you put into this lease truck, it is not your truck?
Yeah.
They could take it away from you tomorrow. They could take it away from you this afternoon. It's right in the contract. That is my biggest problem with these things. It's not even sometimes the money. It's the fact that how can I run a business when somebody else can put me out of business in a heartbeat and I can't stop it? They take away your truck, you're out of business. I've never understood why somebody would be willing to take that risk. I don't care how much money you make in a lease purchase. It's not worth the risk of losing your business. And it's happened. And people say, oh, that doesn't happen that often. I don't care if it happens often. I don't want that risk. It happens. I have lots of cases. I have cases of people who completely paid off their lease purchase and the truck should be theirs and they never got it.
Yeah, I've heard your stories.
Yeah, they're bad. So the numbers matter, but the risk is always there, no matter how good the numbers are. And then my real question though is, were you really ready to be running a second truck? You're going to put a driver in this?
I wasn't ready. I dove into this head first.
Now, here's what
Into
we
the-
can.
into the shallow end.
Here's what we might be able to figure out, though. And you tell me if this is possible. I don't know your whole situation yet. I haven't asked enough questions. But if it turns out that, you really shouldn't have two trucks right now, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be my opinion, why can't we just walk away from the lease and you drive the truck you just bought?
I can't. I can walk away from the lease, but I need to go sit down with the owner and work that out. But I have heard a couple of horror stories, and I don't know how true they are.
About what?
Until I actually sit down with the guy that wanted to walk away from his lease, and they still made him pay the lease until the lease was up.
Well, wait a minute. This is easy to solve, and there is a contract.
Yeah.
It's all in the contract. They can't do something that isn't in the contract. If the contract says
Right.
that you can't walk away from this lease, that you are fully responsible for the entire amount of lease payments, then that would be correct. But it's not a matter of the owner just doesn't get to decide that. It's either in the contract or it isn't. So we need to read the contract.
I have it right here. Termination. Either party may terminate this agreement at any time for any reason by giving 90 days written notice to the other party. In addition, carrier may elect to immediately terminate this agreement by giving oral notice of termination to contract in event one contractor or any given driver, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
That
I
is,
have to give
that's
90 days.
That's a very common clause. Either party can cancel with 90 days notice, or under certain circumstance, the carrier can terminate immediately. If they decide that you're unsafe or you've broken policy, they can terminate immediately. The most they could hold you to in that contract is the 90 days worth of payments after you put in your notice. That's it.
Okay.
So if somebody got screwed and had to pay off or they used it as a threat and got somebody to stay, well, that's their problem. They should have read their lease.
Okay.
That's why we have contracts.
I was able to pull. Right. As I was able to pull up my numbers, but I only have up till April.
That's okay.
On my phone.
That's okay.
Profit per mile is 62 cents, and cost per mile is $3.02.
What? Wait a minute.
I may be reading this wrong.
Yeah, you are. There's no way your cost per mile is $3. Now, your profit per mile at 65, I could accept that. And the first thing I would tell you is walk away from it and run your own truck.
Mm-hmm.
If your profit per mile is 62 cents a mile, walk away from that thing now. Put in your 90-day notice. Fill out, you got to put in the 90 days because you don't want to cancel because they will come after you. Put in your 90 days.
Right.
Don't even think about hiring a driver, and then you go drive that truck you just bought.
Okay. Now, see, but this is also calculating in what I draw from
that's part of why your $3 a mile isn't making sense to me. Just give me a rough idea. How much are you taking out of the company weekly, let's just say?
So it's biweekly, and I usually take about $1,500 to $2,000.
Wait a minute. Now I am more confused than ever. You're taking $100,000 a year, and there's still 62 cents a mile left in profit?
Well, as of April,
let me ask you
now,
this: Is your rate anywhere near $4 a mile?
Some loads are, some
Not
loads
some.
aren't.
Give me a pretty good average. It should be right there on your report. What is the rate per mile on all miles?
That's the wrong one. Hold on. I'm sitting here too.
Is there any way you can
Kevin, did you do the math right? Did you do the math right on this? He's taking 1,500 to 2,000 every 2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks.
That's
Thank
not
you,
100,000 a
It's
year.
half of that. It's half of that.
Yeah.
Thank you. That helps some.
Yeah.
Now we're getting down. Is
Yeah.
there any way you could you send me that report? Can you email it?
It's on profit gauges.
Let me do this because I want to get down to these numbers because there's a lot going on here. I'm going to put you back.
You might actually be able to see more.
Yeah, I will be. I'm
I can.
going to put you back in the queue. I'm going to have Angie go bring up your report so I can look at it because I really want to help you with this, and there's just a lot going on. So let's do that. Angie, if you could grab that call and pull up his profit gauges and send me the most recent business report. And while we're doing that, we'll go grab another call because we're kind of slammed with calls today. We're running out of time. John in Minnesota, it's your turn.
Hey, Kevin, I called you, a couple of years ago and made the suggestion for fuel gauges. of doing oil consumption in fuel gauges.
You did.
Or,
You know,
you
one
know,
of the reasons
yes.
that got moved down the list, and I'd have to go check to see if we're even incorporating that into this version or not, is because we're
Right.
kind of looking at trucks today and saying they're not really consuming oil. It's not enough to
I
track. If
understand that.
somebody calls me with a modern engine and it is consuming oil, we consider it a problem.
Right. Yeah, I was just thinking because the factory or warranty rebuild that would have the oil consumption and the fuel all incorporated in one place.
And I get that, but I can also tell you that I bet I haven't had 3 of those calls in the last 5 years on, you know, somebody. And once you're down to that number, the oil consumption is so extreme. Eric, what are the limits? Isn't it like 1,500 or 2,000 miles a gallon for most OEMs?
Common spec, excuse me, is 1 gallon and 2,800 miles.
2,800. Yeah, that's extreme.
Yeah.
You're using a lot of oil at that point. I just, you know, we have to pick and choose and prioritize our programming because it's really expensive and it takes time. And I don't. That one's probably not going to make the list.
Yeah, I understand. I just heard about working the DEF and I figured I'd ask the question on whether oil consumption was making it in. So.
Yeah, I'll double check, but I have a feeling we may have bumped that one off the list. The DEF consumption is critical. That will be a really good tool, and it applies to so many more trucks.
Yep, I was just kind of curious. So.
All right.
Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the call. Let's let me check and see. Okay, man, Angie is fast. I've already got that report, so I can bring Andy back. All right, Andy, let me take a look. Holy cow. What is going on here?
So I put 2 trucks on one.
Andy, you're killing me. You're killing, but that's still.
I'm sorry.
Are you also putting all the miles from both trucks on this report?
No, I wasn't. I was only doing the 1 truck.
So this, I hate to say it, because you got a gold star for using profit gauges and tracking your numbers, but I've got to give you the dunce cap because this report is now worthless to me. I can't tell anything.
Okay, I'll go sit in the corner.
Yeah, it's showing that you make $6.08 a mile, and I know that's not true.
Right.
Well, it's good freight. That's good freight.
So I could do this. I can go over one of my pay settlements. My last one that I got. See if I can find it. As I'm parked, I'm not driving down the highway.
Yeah, I'm looking at these numbers, trying to see if there's some way I can make sense of them, but I can't. All the expenses are way off, and it's because the mileage is just wrong.
Right. So
now here's a quick way, maybe, that you could fix this report. It wouldn't be perfect, but it would be better. If we could get the mileage correct, if we got all the miles in from both trucks, then we would have an average of the 2 trucks, but at least it would be an accurate average.
Right.
And all we would have to change is one number. We would just have to get the right mileage in here. But if you have something, tell me what you got.
Well, I have at home, it's on my computer at home, an Excel spreadsheet of every load that what it paid gross, and then after all expenses. So I have the gross rate per mile and then the net rate per mile.
You're about to get the double dunce cap.
Okay.
Double
Please explain.
Well, yes. Why are you working twice as hard, maybe 4 times as hard as you need to on your numbers, and your numbers are garbage? Why do you have this Excel spreadsheet? That spreadsheets are a lot of work and they are prone to errors. One keystroke you mess up when you're programming, or later on, one keystroke wipes out a formula somewhere. They're prone to errors. They're a lot of work, and you're not going to get nearly as good of information as if you would just do profit gauges correctly. Throw the damn spreadsheet away.
Okay.
Congratulations on
Okay.
doing the hard work. Now we have to work a little smarter.
Okay. Well, here's then. I guess I'm going to have to sit down one day during the week and get on the phone with customer support and have them, or go through I think there's a tutorial on there, isn't there?
There is. You know what I recommend? And you
What's
know
that?
me, I don't hard sell anybody on this show. You should be in the coaching
Okay.
program for a month. Let me work with you and fix this.
Okay. Okay.
It's $75 a month. You can quit anytime you want. So we could fix this easily in 1 month. You get 4 calls for the month. And we could fix this easily in a month. We'll dig right into this. We'll get it figured out. We'll make your life easier.
Okay. Is that I sign up for that on the Healthy Tribe site, or is it a different?
No, you can sign up for it on the Tribe site. But what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to put you back in the queue again, and I'm going to have Angie pick you up, Andy, and we will get this figured out. I want to help you here. There is a lot of potential to make this situation much better than it is right now, and we can do that. But I've got to get down to accurate numbers. Let's go to New Jersey. Danny, welcome to the program.
Wow, I gotta say, what those 2 callers right there, Kev. What an inspiration! I mean, I just have to say that I'm going to be 68 years old on the 18th, and I've called before, and I got 2 specific questions about the catalyst,
sure,
and about the T6 oil. But I just want to promote the store because I've been out here since 1975, and those 2 callers right there, and this is what I'm going to explain about being an inspiration. They're willing to learn.
Yes.
And
yep.
For the period of time that I've been out here, I leased to a food company over here in Jersey. I was leased for 22 years. And I could never get anybody to understand that the only thing that we were able to control after dispatch, and this is legitimate, was the fuel that we put in our fuel tank. And the ideology that there was 100 of us between 4 separate terminals, all perishable and dry food.
Yeah.
But they were coming in with $200,000 trucks.
Yeah.
And but anyway, I don't want to get too much in the weeds because I have problems with that sometimes.
That's all right.
But I do want to promote your store.
Thank
and
you.
I want to promote, Pittsburgh Power. I have a 2003 Coronado. I called you about it on a Tuesday before. And I sent the flyer to Bruce quite a few months ago and everything. But I have it on the truck paper. And what really discourages me is that I'm not really getting the responses that I thought that I would, because right on the front page, it says all upgrades influenced by Pittsburgh Power. And I only got 3 calls over 7 weeks that individuals that are educated in what is being provided right here. And I just want to say, from my opinion, you can't put a price tag on what
thank you.
everybody who's out here right now, either sitting wherever holding a wheel. You're having the ability right now to learn at a rate that is just off the charts. And in saying that, I want to give my sincere condolences about Pete also. I want to promote personal relationships. You had a caller yesterday morning that was the first caller, and it kind of went there. And what I would recommend, something that I've done since I started in 1975, but I'd say probably around 1977, is putting my hand out introducing myself and shaking the individual's hand face to face.
There you go.
And what that does, I mean, that is another. You can't put a price tag on that. I ran a very, I lost my leg. I'm the one that lost my leg because of a hip replacement and all that. That's the only reason I'm selling my truck. But
got it.
And I just want to say this: I got a microprocessor knee. It's got its own software, and I called my shop. And I want to promote my shop, and I asked them to to see if he could find a upgrade. But I want to ask my question because I know I'm going to go long.
All right, go ahead.
The truck, okay. The truck has run for at least the last 200,000 miles on the max mileage, and I've also used the T6 oil. I have a 08 Mazda CX-9 and I got an 07 CRV. Would that oil be compatible in a gas engine? And the catalyst, I also have 1 gallon. I don't want to let I have a few gallons that are going to go with the truck, and I'm feeling like it could be a waste because you got to be a little bit diligent, and I couldn't get guys to do that either.
So here's what I know about oil, and
okay.
Somebody else may jump in as well. Base oil is base oil. The only thing we really look at in the base oil itself is really the weight and viscosity. So is 40 weight recommended? Is 30 weight recommended? In some cars, 20 weight is recommended. That's the base oil itself, and that's all that really matters. Then we look at the additive package, and this is where things can get complicated. You use different additives in a diesel engine because you have different combustion byproducts that we have to deal with. You use wildly different additives in a natural gas engine. One of the things I learned is, boy, you got to know how to look at an oil sample way different if you're running natural gas. There's very different combustion byproducts, and that's what additives are in there for. Additives are there to deal with the byproducts of combustion, but every fuel has different byproducts. That's where API classifications come in. API classifications tell us this oil and its additive package is formulated for this type of an engine. Now, we've talked about the fact that Rotella is used in race cars a lot. John Walco told us a lot of race teams love Rotella. That's the base or the additive package that they really like. But they don't care
that
long term.
That actually is what's triggering my question.
There's a difference
I
there.
heard John.
Yeah, they don't keep oil in engines long term. They're not worried about additive packages. They're not worried about APIs because the oil doesn't stay in the engine long enough to matter. They only care about the base components, and they like the zinc that's in there because it's protective. And so I would now tell me about these vehicles. How new are they? Like the Mazda, how new is it?
They're old. I got an 08. It's an 08 Mazda CX-9, and I got an 07 CRV. Thank God, because if I had car payments, I'd probably.
If you want to use up some of the oil you have on hand and you're going to run it through a normal cycle, 3,000 to 5,000 mile oil change, dump it in. I doubt it's going to hurt anything. Eric, Bruce, am I way off base on that, or are we pretty close?
I disagree with that because of foaming effects.
Okay, that's why I asked.
The diesel oils don't have any anti-foaming additives because we only run these engines to 2,000, 2,100 RPM. When you try to run a diesel oil in a gasoline engine, it will foam. You will get a lot of foaming effects in there. You can do it. Should you do it? No. I mean, you can, like in an emergency case, I guess, if you're stranded somewhere, something happens, I could see that.
Hey,
but
Eric,
other than that, I would not run it.
I have a question for you then. I'm thinking if we're running this in race engines, we're talking about crazy high RPM sometimes. Are they putting in some kind of anti-foam additive?
I don't think they're running like a 1540 diesel Shell Rotella, because Shell Rotella makes a bunch of different oils.
Oh,
Rotella's
he
a
said he
big
was.
oil.
Oh,
Yeah,
He
I
said
got
he
a
was.
540, the T6 full synthetic. The 540 T6 is what I got, Rotella.
But anyway, gentlemen, I have several things I have to do, so I have to get off.
Hey,
Eric
Bruce.
and Leroy can fill in for
Bruce,
me.
let's
Yes.
let's just go ahead and close out the show. We don't have any more calls anyway, so let any
Okay.
final words, and we'll let you
Okay.
out of here. We're all going to end today, so go ahead.
I appreciate you.
You're welcome. Talk to you again soon, Danny.
Okay.
Thanks for the call. Go ahead, Bruce.
All right, I just have so many things waiting for me to take care of right now that
Got it.
I have to go.
Well, thanks as always. Great stuff today. We'll talk to you again next
You're
week.
quite
Have
welcome.
a great 4th.
You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Leroy, Eric, any final words?
I'm going to do some homework on that oil.
Thank
Yabba
you.
dabba do.
I want to see what that is. I know I read that somewhere.
I may reach out to John as well and ask him how that works. See, when I hear the word Rotella, I had no idea there were Rotellas with like other API. I thought they were all diesel oils. I thought that's what the Rotella line was. So, but I don't know that. I just assumed that. But I'll reach out to John and ask him how that works.
Yeah, I want to see that too, because I know we used to run Shell in gasoline engines, but this is going back quite a few years. I don't remember if it was a Rotella or not. I thought the same way you did. Rotella was their diesel lineup.
That's what I thought, right?
That's what
But
they only.
JR uses Rotella in his motorcycle that revs 9,000 RPM.
That does not surprise me.
yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll do some digging because I'd like to know that answer too.
Yep,
All
I
right.
will.
Thanks as always to the team from Pittsburgh Power. Short week. I have Destination Health tomorrow. No guests. It'll be a health free-for-all. That is the final show of the week. We'll see you back here for the Power Hour next week. In the meantime, if you have any questions, give them a call at Pittsburgh Power. Be safe, be profitable, be fit and healthy. Always do the hard work and master the journey.